Hello, hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. Yeah,
Yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. I saw it sort of logging into Google because Google's on American time apparently. But
Mhm.
yeah, I forgot it completely until you mentioned it. Who's your favorite woman scientist?
Well, there are so many, but the
I
first
know.
person who comes to mind every time is Marie
Yeah.
Curie because she's
Yep.
arguably the coolest fucking scientist who ever lived, period.
Yes. She is the only person to ever win two Nobel Prizes in different categories. She won it for chemistry and physics, I believe. So she
I think
actually
that's right,
won
yeah.
two. Yeah. So
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
just incredible. But a strong contender for me is Ada Lovelace. Really important to the programming sphere. She was the first person to program a computer algorithm.
Hell yeah.
Really cool.
But you
Yeah.
know who else is a pretty cool woman? Shannon Q. See,
Shannon Q.
I'm smooth here because
And
it's a debate we're
you're a
covering
pretty
today.
cool woman yourself. So there you go. We've got
One
some
does one's best.
pretty cool women out there. Like this is the thing. It's sort of I love women in tech. I like women in STEM. It's fantastic. It's awesome. I'm a big fan.
Hell yeah. Seeing people do things they're good
Yep.
at, do things they love. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hello everybody joining us. Live people, good to see you. I see Tilting
Uh-huh.
Windmill. I see
I
Rubix.
told him.
Hello, hello. Future people, if you're joining us later, I got something to show you.
Oof.
As you may have heard, our friend, community member, Joe the Kentucky Atheist, is organizing this year's protest at Answers in
Uh-huh.
Genesis
Uh-huh.
Ark Encounter. And
Yep.
this time, I'm going to remember to show his promo early in the show. We're going to
Yeah.
do that right now.
Awesome.
And that wonderful piece of cinema was produced by another amazing woman, How to
Hmm.
Rule an Asteroid,
Yeah,
who's been
Jess.
helping Joe out with a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic person. You may know her from moderating a debate or two over on Mark's channel.
Yeah, I think she's moderated one or two. I can't remember how many. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, it's. I mean, she does a bunch of other stuff too. I'm just like drawing connections that people might be familiar
Hmm.
with.
Oh yeah, there's a sort of a very vibrant community going on, and sort of the intersection between sort of Chris Mallards and the older kind of atheist debaters and things like that. It's really nice. It's a
Oh
sort of
yeah.
network. Because atheists are usually very chaotic and very hard to organize in any one
Mm-hmm.
direction. So it's good to have people that we're aware of. At the moment, I'm trying to be brave and ask people on to interview. There's a few people I would love to interview. I think I've confirmed the Apostate Sisters, who I really want
Sweet.
to talk to. Their stories are amazing, and it's yeah, I really want to talk with them. I want to talk to Nick about America and what the hell is going on over there. And I want to talk to Dr. Josh. I'm hitting them up. Hopefully I can have them on, but I won't confirm yet.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of them are. Dr. Josh, I don't know for sure. I know he
Yeah,
likes to do appearances when he can, but he's also so busy between
yeah,
the
yeah.
kids and the scholarship and his own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, totally. People have lives going on. I 100% understand that. I don't have any sort of expectations on people because, life happens.
yeah, I know.
Mm. Boy, does life happen.
For sure. Well, I can't think of a good segue to get from there to bringing the debate up. Oh, I totally unrelated thing. New month ish. I think this is the first show of the month. So yes, it is. I'm gonna drop some of those memberships that YouTube gives me to give away.
All right.
We'll do
some
some of those right now.
Emberships.
Hell yeah.
Going out. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I like to try to remember those things. So we got.
Oh, you hit Caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Woohoo. Alas, we can't get Twiggy also. Twiggy only comes with Cata.
Right,
they're
right.
a set.
Twiggy is the goat.
Indeed. Very literally. Discworld, Edgewitch, Austin Sims, Larry McClelland, and Satan616.
Oh, you hit Austin as well.
Hell yeah. So enjoy all the fun custom emojis that we have that the members voted on. You too can vote on the next emoji when a slot opens up by joining memberships. They start cheap. If all you want is the emojis, 99 cents. If you want all the other stuff like early access to videos, I promise I am working on new videos. I've had a few delays in production stuff going on, but there is stuff in the works. Already recorded even. I just have to edit the dang things. It's coming. And members get it first, at least a week early. That's just one of the benefits of membership. Plus, it also supports the channel. If you want to support the channel for free, there's options for that too, like hitting the subscribe button, the like button, and most of all, the share button, because the algorithm hates atheist content, especially trans atheist content creators.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. Ever since I started, my channel has just been... So,
I'm sorry.
Any help. Leave a comment, even if it's a comment saying that I have terrible fashion sense, whatever it may be. Leave a comment later on. All the buttons help, and I appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Look, I have no idea how. Like, I'm just bewildered by the whole thing. It seems so much work to try and figure it out. I just couldn't be bothered.
I don't think anybody really knows. There's a few gurus who pretend to know, and they'll sell you their knowledge for the low price of $39 a month.
Yeah, I've had those emails. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, your channel could be huge. It's like, okay, cool. I'm not sure that you changing, this one, putting an emoji in here is going to change my entire perspective on things. Like, come on now. I think they're full of crap, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Joe's here. Hello, Joe. You just missed your promo. I remembered to do it early this time. So watch back. Well, we're still early. I mean, you know what your ad looks like, but I included it. Hooray. I remembered things.
I'll get a link for it as well, because all of the links are in the description of Joe's promo. So if you do want to look up or donate to the protest, you can get all of the details from that promo description. So I might just grab a link for everybody. Would be a good idea. Yeah.
Good stuff.
If I can find it.
While we're on the subject, there's another thing coming up. End of March 31st. One of the speakers at the Ark Encounter is also doing another fundraiser for a brand new nonprofit called Secular Rising US. And there's a shit ton of people are going to be on this show. There's going to be me. There's going to be Maya. There's going to be Durante Lamar and Chris Mallard, whom you just saw in that promo. Bunch of other people. And they're, from what I've heard, they're gearing for an organization that does things like in-person things, which is probably one of the reasons Durante's on board, because getting in-person events going to build community is what Durante is all the fuck about. And we love to see it. We love to see more engagement because, you can be an atheist, you can be a secular humanist, you can be a separation of church and state advocate who still believes in religion. But if on your own, it doesn't feel the same as having that sense of community from being in a church. A lot of people stay in churches just for the sense of community.
Oh, sure.
So we're hoping to do something about that, and that's what a bunch of us are up to these days. So I put a link to that in my community posts a link to the promo for that anyway. The actual event hasn't been posted yet, but end of the month, keep your eyes peeled and come join us for that as well. So yay. We're getting all the promo stuff in early, which I suppose is the time to do it, because people who watch later will see the first part first, and people watching now are only just now tuning in. Because I can see the view counter, and it's
okay. Well, I can't see the view counter. I
appreciate all you folks joining us. We are doing part 2 of this debate. Part 1 was over on Mark's channel last week. The link for that is in the description. And we are picking up at 37 and a half minutes. Let me put this thingy on the stage here. There we are.
So it was a lot more reasonable than I remember. Like, I thought it was instant dumpster fire, but it wasn't. It was pretty good. Somebody also suggested that the other debate with Darth Dawkins that was hilarious was the one against Taylor. Snake was right. Apparently that went crazy, so that's an option as well. But I loved Shannon Q, and I think there was more to learn from Shannon Q. But apparently the one with Snake was funnier.
Yeah, the dumpster fires often are. And we have a lot to say on both things, because the reason we review these is both to educate people about the different techniques and methods and what mistakes each person is making, but also for what they're saying itself. Because some of these ideas are really good, and some of them are really bad.
Yes,
and Shannon has a lot of good ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, her insights about cognition and the way that we understand things, and sort of how we and she's just very, very intelligent and very she's excellent at what she does. I have no problems with Shannon Q whatsoever. But I thought this one went into instant dumpster fire. It didn't. But I let's see how it turns out, I guess.
For sure.
I mean, she's already identified what he's doing, because when somebody has a script and they're running you through it, you can tell. You know what I mean? Like, when I was debating Jim Bob, I could tell he had a script. Like, he had this branching script of responses. And if something didn't fit into that script, he would start to get upset, because he isn't capable of putting thoughts together and saying, hey, well, you've said this. This is how I would respond with my understanding of, how I look at God, or how I look at atheism, and, even go, well, that's interesting. Here is how I would apply that. Maybe it doesn't work because of this, and this is how I would counter. So he's really got a list of yes, no response, like almost like one of those flow charts that has, do you think God, do you believe you live in a non-God world? Yes or no, and going out from there. So that's why a lot of them, when they're running these scripts, they only want yes or no answers, and yes or no answers only. It's very, very evident when it's occurring, because there's no way to write every nuanced response to every theological question that you're going to have for an atheist. So it's just yes or no. So they get upset when you're not answering yes or no. Like, the thing that throws them is people going, well, I don't know, because that isn't in their freaking thing, right? It's not in their flowchart. And I think
black and white based, yeah.
Well, you can see them get irritated. I could see Jim Bob get irritated from when he said, oh, are you a physicalist or a materialist? I can't remember which one he said. I think it was a materialist. And I'm like, well, provisionally, yes. Like, but only provisionally. And he's like, well, what is that supposed to mean? It's like, well, provisionally means, well, as long as I only keep seeing material things. Basically, I'm a materialist. As soon as you can show me something supernatural, I won't be a materialist anymore, but I've never seen that. So I don't preclude it, but that doesn't fit into his script, like that doesn't, he wants to say, oh, well, if you're a materialist, you've got these things, but it doesn't fit into that. And I think the problem with it is that everything is more nuanced than a simple yes or no kind of response.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when you start saying, well, you ask them to only give yes or no responses, they don't want to do that. They want to elaborate and clarify and explain their position, which, why are you doing that if you expect the other person not to? It's just so wild. It's wild.
Well, there's two things going on there. There's the running the script, but also there's that old tactic from back in Dwayne Gish's day where people would perceive the winner of a debate being the person who talked the most. So you only get yes no's, they get to pontificate. And when you tally it up, they have 90% of the speaking time, so they've swayed the majority of the audience.
Right. Yeah, and so I think that I mean, we should be familiar with those tactics enough, and I think that people in general should be familiar with those tactics enough to sort of recognize them for what they are. I don't know many people that will see the sort of Dwayne Gish style, bloviation and sort of, just the arrogant sort of claiming everything. And think, oh, that's a real winner right there. I don't know many people that would agree with that. And I think that's why they have to swamp comments with their audience, and they have to, really swamp debates with their audience because they want to make it look like they've done well. When I don't know who would look at that and go, oh yeah, that's a compelling argument. I don't know who looks at Darth Dawkins and goes, no, that's compelling. Very few people.
Yeah, it makes me wonder about the ultimate goal. Like a lot of the yes no thing, I ran into that in high school debate. People would ask a question as if to paint something. It was false dichotomy stuff, but they wanted to paint it as a true dichotomy. Law of identity stuff, and almost always I'd say, well, depends. And I drove people fucking nuts. For a while, the rest of the team, one day they got together, they all showed up wearing a shirt that says, well, depends. I just annoyed the shit out of people because I would never say yes or no on anything. I always had nuance and clarification and so forth. But, I mean, it works.
Well, it's important. It's important. Context is important. And that's the thing. It seems to me that with theists, context is important until it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's always, well, this horrible verse in the Bible, you've got to look at the context. But when you're talking about, something in real life and they want just yes or no, suddenly context doesn't matter. And it's sort of this very weird, double standard. That thing. I'm on team well depends. Yeah, I got you.
I can believe it, Rubik's. I didn't watch any of that nonsense either, but I mean, it's sort of his whole thing. So we'll see how that goes. But for today, we have a different, surprisingly non-dumpster fire thing. Once again, this is part 2. Part 1 is over on Mark's channel, and we're resuming from almost 40 minutes in. I cannot remember exactly the last thing that was said, but yeah, we'll get going with this thing.
Yeah, sure.
The event that if Shannon's trying to make a case that the soul, in some way, there's some sort of incoherence on the Christian worldview with a soul, like maybe if that's kind of where she's going, like that seems like it's kind of like fair game. Like, it doesn't seem like it's too outside of the ballpark. At the same time, like I can see how Duncan, I know where you're going, and yours is within the ballpark as well. So I think that, I mean, I might be wrong about this, but I think you guys are both within the ballpark of like the, so if we get back to that might be most substantive.
Yeah, I'd like my question to be answered. How does it follow that because you have problems with the concept of the soul, that it follows from that there is no God? You are an atheist, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's making a category error here. So he's basically mixing epistemology, which is how you believe something. That's sort of the part where, because you have doubts about this thing, how does it follow that it doesn't exist? So he's doing a couple of really bad tactics here. Number one, he's like if you're going to say something exists, you don't have direct access to whether that exists or not. All you can rely on is how you find that knowledge. So that whether it exists is ontology. It's the actuality of things. It's whether it exists or not. How you know that it exists is epistemology. So she has to rely, everybody has to rely on epistemology. Everybody does, but he's sort of conflating the two. It's how I would answer is because I have doubts, I cannot be certain that this thing exists, but he's also shifting the burden of proof. He's sort of going, prove that the soul is impossible, right? So the only way you could do that is prove it's logically inconsistent, maybe. So logically it can't exist, which I don't think is really a very, very good. I think even if you prove that something, it's very hard to do. The only thing that you can sort of prove that logically don't exist are things like paradoxes and, contradictions.
Yeah. Like the Yahweh, for example.
Well, yeah. I mean, presumably you could do something like that, but don't forget, he's not going to go into the Christian belief, even though it's got Christian after his name. He's going to really talk about because Darth Dawkins never does. He will not touch Christianity with a 10-foot barge pole.
I mean, in fairness, neither do I. I mean, we talk about it, but that's neither here nor there. But he's also, okay, first of all, left-handed
I will.
Member for 14 months. Holy shit. I appreciate that. And membership, great way to support the channel. Just saying. And you get all the cool emojis. And speaking of which, Discworld Edgewitch, you're most welcome.
Yeah, very welcome. I love your name as well. I'm a huge fan of Discworld series, Pratchett Forever. I absolutely love that series. So yeah.
There's so much, but I could go off on a huge tangent.
Yeah.
Not that we do tangents or anything around here, but yeah, that's a whole thing. On what Darth was saying, there's another facet. Whether there is a soul or not, it isn't connected to whether there's a God or not. You could have a God and no souls. You could have souls and no God. They're completely unrelated. So what the fuck is Darth talking about? And also, my unfinished journey since 222. Thank you so much. And says, Hail Nero, Mark and Ember, and down with pre-suppers. That's right. We prefer full suppers here.
Souls would definitely get you one step closer, because at the moment, most atheists would not acknowledge that there's any supernatural sort of world at all, right? There's this other world that we can't access called the supernatural, whatever that may take the form of. At least a soul would get you to that supernatural. Or, for instance, sometimes the argument that I use is that, as far as I know, minds can't exist without brains, and I base that upon all of the minds that have a brain or some sort of nervous system or some sort of physical medium, and there's no minds I've ever seen without a brain. If you could prove a soul that somehow has cognition, at least that would hurdle that. But you're right, it doesn't get you there, but I think it's like one tiny step along the way closer, that you've got the supernatural. But you're absolutely right. It's such a small step. Even if you win this victory, Darth, it's not the victory you think it is. Like, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Titan's asking about the cheesecake thing. If Shannon,
I don't think she said it yet. No, I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell. So we may. There's a lot of debate to go still. So let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Good. How does that follow that there is no God?
Because if you referenced the Bible prior, right? The scriptures.
I'd like to know from your point of view, since you are an atheist.
Yeah, so she asks a clarifying question. She's sort of saying, hey, in relation to the Bible, if it's not true that we have a soul, we can discard the scriptures because they're wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, we can say that the God probably doesn't exist, or at least that God doesn't exist as described in there, because if you have a God that is, able to send your soul to heaven or calm your soul or work with your soul or somehow fulfills your soul, and that soul doesn't exist, then that God as described can't exist, which is a fair question. So she's saying, just for clarification in relation to the scriptures, he ignores that, the clarifying question, completely, and just asks the question again, because he's not interested in he's not interested in her understanding the question. He's interested in the gotcha of, you can't show that a soul exists, doesn't exist. You can't show that a soul doesn't exist, so I'm right to believe it does. No, that's not how that works, sir.
Nope. But that's the thing. He's actually gotten worse about that over the years. Infamously, people who've done the Discord discourses with him, he doesn't answer questions. He doesn't clarify. If you
no.
Hell, even just a few months ago, he engaged with Planet Peterson, Eric, and every time Eric had a clarifying question, he just repeated the question. He just will not deviate from his script anymore, which isn't super helpful.
Yep.
God.
Because if there is a God, there should be a soul, because that's a concept from the scriptures, and I don't believe it's plausible.
How does it follow that if there's an ultimacy of reality that possesses personality, and we call that God, that there would be any state of affairs from your point of view?
If I assume that God is the foundation for logic and that the scriptures are true.
I didn't mention the scriptures. I asked you, how does it follow that if there's a God, you would necessarily understand the nature of a soul?
Why wouldn't you talk about the scriptures if it's the Christian God?
I am. But right now, I'm inquiring about your atheism and its intelligibility.
Right. So
okay?
this is him.
Now,
this is him
your position
walking away from Christianity. Right. He doesn't want to discuss the actual premises of Christianity because it's a much weaker position. Mm-hmm. If you can have a vague deistic God that created the universe and that's it, and we shouldn't expect to see any evidence for it because it doesn't show on this realm at all, or this level of reality at all. It's a lot easier to defend than the God that apparently is doing miracles that we never see and is dealing with souls that we can't find, and all of this kind of stuff. And I mean, the Trinity alone, you bring up the Trinity these days, and the way that people run from it is horrendous. I mean, that debate with Jimbo, he did not want to discuss the Trinity. It's just, this is a foundational belief of your religion, and they just absolutely run from it.
Because they know at some level, Dr. J. Bundy has famously said, there is no honest way to defend something is a lie.
Yeah.
They know it's an incoherent, it's a defeater for their whole fucking worldview. And so, they stay the hell away from it. But the fact they do demonstrates they do know it's an incoherent worldview. And they're still
some don't.
Presenting it.
Yeah, some don't. Some sort of go, well, special pleading, I'm going to, God's different than anything else. It can do that. Like, it can be three things and one thing at the same time, and they will rest on that. And it's like, okay, well, at least they're trying, But some people, you can tell that they they're so lost in the source, they don't even want to go anywhere near it. They just, nope, that's a defeater for me. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
No God. So basically, you're telling me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that there is no God because you don't understand how a soul might interact with a body. Now, here's the question. How is it that there is no God?
How is it that there is no God? Because one of the tenets of the God that I am speaking about, that was dictated by him, was that we would have a soul. And if one of the tenets that was dictated by God is that we have a soul, the soul should be a coherent concept, and I find it difficult to make it coherent.
What you're addressing is a difficulty with the Christian God vis-a-vis the soul. That would not entail atheism. Atheism is the denial.
But it would discount Christianity. Are you discounting Christianity? Are you saying that? Did I just disprove Christianity?
Yeah, and that's a valid point. Darth, you can keep being a general deist all you want, but you're here defending Christianity,
right,
and conceding Christianity.
Right.
What are we doing?
Yeah, but he's sort of saying there's no problem vis-a-vis the soul and God, right? There's no problem regarding the soul. It's fine. The problem is with you and not being able to understand it. So Darth is going at this in a really weird way. He's going, because you can't understand the soul doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's kind of correct, yes, but at the same time, it's not upon me to show that the soul doesn't exist. It's upon you to show the soul does exist. And a start of that, right, the very start of demonstrating a soul, would it at least you've got to make it a coherent concept. That's the start of showing that a soul exists. So if you can't even demonstrate that it's a coherent concept, what are we even talking about? I don't have to prove that a soul doesn't exist. Start to make it coherent.
Yeah, make it sense. How can we even talk about a thing when we can't even put the loosest parameters on what that thing is?
Right.
Have you seen the flugelhorn? What do you mean by flugel? You know, the flugelhorn. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, you didn't do anything.
Oh, okay. So you're not fighting for Christianity, then you're fighting for deistic perspectives.
What you have done is you've answered a question I didn't ask. Now, atheism is not the disbelief in some gods. Mm-hmm. Atheism is not the disbelief in the Christian God. Atheism is the disbelief and denial of all gods. So since you are a self-proclaimed atheist...
Well, that depends on who you ask. According to the early Christians, the ones who had the Roman Empire, anybody who wasn't a Christian was an atheist. The Jews, atheists. The pre-Christian Roman pantheon, atheists. Everybody, atheist. If you're not, their specific flavor... And they acted on that too, you know, they wiped out so many different flavors of Christianity because they were the wrong Christianity. And it's not like they were doing murder. They were only atheists, you know. It's not like they were real people.
And here's where you can sort of go, you know, this whole thing is kind of Darth just retreating. It's we've talked about it before, the Mott and Bailey, where you have a much weaker position and you retreat from it to the much stronger position. That's exactly what Darth is doing here. Christianity is the weaker position relative to a deistic God. So he's just retreating to a position of strength and basically going, we'll defend against this one, Shannon. And it's just, but at the same time, he's just, again, shifting the burden of proof over to her. Like with a deistic God, how do you know that it exists at all if it doesn't interact with the world? But he doesn't want to go down that route. Darth's entire arguments is based upon it exists, prove me wrong. That is his entire shtick. Like it all comes down to that. I'm going to assume it exists until you can prove me wrong. You can sort of see. It's very easy to see where that methodology, when applied to anything else, right, leads you down bad and contradictory results. So the Hindu gods exist, prove them they don't. The Bigfoot exists, prove that they don't. Aliens are on Venus, prove that they don't. Just this is his shtick. He runs this constantly, which is presuppositionalism. It's I'm going to presuppose it exists. You've got to show that they don't. And that is not how we do things because it leads to contradictory results.
Yeah, it's entirely self-defeating. Like using the same metric, you can say, well, the position of you as a Christian is that none of these other gods exist. So part of your claim is that there is no Odin or Zeus or Vishnu.
Right.
So you need to demonstrate that in exactly the same way and for exactly the same reason that you think I need to demonstrate your God doesn't exist.
And worse still, because his metric for disproving something is show that it's impossible, he's got to show that Zeus and Odin are logically impossible, which he cannot do. Because like I've said on many occasions, just because something is logically impossible, or logically possible, like, you know, like it doesn't violate logic, doesn't mean it exists. It's logically possible that Ember and I live in the same country. You know, there's nothing against logic, but that is not the case. That is not the state of affairs. So it's important to remember that Darth, if presented with, you know, show that interdimensional beings don't exist and didn't create the universe. How is that logically impossible? It's not logically impossible, and he can't. So, you know, when applied to anything else, he's going to contradict his own worldview using the same methodology.
Mm-hmm.
Atheist, I want to know how it is there is no ultimate creator God.
Oh, there could you could potentially slide me into a deistic perspective, but I wouldn't worship that God because whatever. Like if there was some sort of deism or pantheism, then like you could propose that to me and it would potentially make sense. And I would say,
So are you abandoning
sure,
your atheism right now? Have you now converted to a deist?
No, I'm probably like if we're looking philosophically, I'm probably more of a temporal sort of agnostic than I am an atheist.
Well, agnosticism is indirect atheism. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Fine.
Okay,
I'm,
so
like, I'm suspending
whether you
judgment
call
on the
yourself-
proposition.
You're not suspending judgment on it. I'll explain to you why.
Oh,
I'm going to ask
okay.
you a simple question.
Sure.
Do you
So
affirm
if, for those people that don't know, a temporal agnostic, essentially what she's saying is that she's an atheist, like she's agnostic about it until she gets shown more evidence. She's saying at the time being, it's sort of saying a provisional atheist, like I don't believe gods exist until, you know, and it shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to include that. It's really understood that when you give your belief status or your belief system, I love it when Titan calls me a sweet chummer child. I live for it, honestly. That when you give your position, it's understood that that's your position given your current knowledge, beliefs, you know, what you're aware of at the moment. Like, I don't know why you'd have to clarify, oh, well, I'm a, you know, atheist now, but if I get shown something later. So the whole temporal thing, I think it's just irrelevant, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think she was just adding the qualifier for Darth's benefit because it's just, I mean, what does he expect the alternative to be? Like, even if you present me evidence, I'm going to accept the evidence, but still hold the same position because fuck honesty. Like, no, I'm not a Christian. Sorry.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I think that, and sort of Matt Delahunty's made the point that why go to the hard atheist position? Why actually take that position when you don't have to? And to me, a lot of these arguments, it's sort of like the mythicism position. You know, why acknowledge that Jesus lived as a person at all, even if they weren't a supernatural being, they were just an ordinary person? Why acknowledge that if, you know, saying that he was a myth is a stronger position? And to me, I think I would rather, I don't see how I would say things because of strategic advantage. I don't want to give my position, my opinion and my beliefs on things as part of strategic advantage. I think I would rather be honest about what my position is. So yeah, hard atheism is harder to defend. You know, it's a lot harder to defend, but I'm happy to be there because that's what I actually believe. And, you know, the thing you've got to understand is Darth is trying to say that atheism is a denial of God in a way that makes a God impossible. He's basically putting the highest bar for atheism. Like, you have to absolutely unequivocally show that a God is not real. And that is not the case, right? That is not the case. You don't have to have some kind of logical impossibility of a God. And all gods at that. You just have to believe that no gods exist.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's hard atheism.
It's a tangent, but, you know, we've
Yeah.
discussed the benefits and drawbacks of the mythicist position from time to time. My general thing is I find it an interesting idea from a scholarly perspective.
Sure.
But for debate purposes, we don't need it. It's an extra thing. It's really only useful rhetorically by showing that the believers can't even demonstrate that Jesus definitely existed, and that's not what you'd expect from the incarnation of the creator of the fucking universe.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Assert that God, a personal absolute creator, is the necessary precondition of all facts.
Well, you just said a
assert that?
personal absolute creator, though. That wouldn't be a deistic perspective, and that's kind of like
Okay,
smuggled in
okay,
there a little bit, I think.
Okay, Shannon, you're evading the question.
No, you said
You
personal,
assert-
but we were talking about deism, and you're attempting
Shannon,
to refute agnosticism.
Okay.
The personal
yeah.
one, yeah, I refute that. No,
Okay.
personal for sure.
Okay. So you do not assert that God is the necessary prerequisite for all facts.
God in general? No, whatever. No.
You don't assert that. Okay, good. Then facts are viable and intelligible without the necessity of God. That's your position.
Sure, with or without, whatever.
Okay, that's an outright denial of the existence of God.
I said with or without. That's not an outright denial. That's a suspension.
No. Let me explain to you why that's incorrect. That's a common mistake, right?
Oh, okay.
People say, oh, well,
That's
I'm
a
not saying I don't know.
common mistake. He loves this language. Like, I've debated people, and that's a common thing they run into. You're making a common mistake. No, she's not actually. Just because you do not assert that a God is required for necessary facts doesn't mean you have to show that a God isn't required for necessary facts. Now, if you're claiming a God is required, you've got to show it. It's not on Shannon to show that God isn't required for necessary facts. This is just shifting the burden of proof in the worst possible way, because Shannon's saying, hey, I don't know why there's necessary facts. They just seem to be part of the universe that we observe. Why is it like that? I don't know. If you're claiming that it's a God, then it's on you, buddy. You got to show that God is required. But that's the trick with presupp. They just presuppose it and try and shift the burden of proof back on you to say, where they come from. Nope, doesn't work like that.
Yeah, sorry, bud. I love how she answered, because she's like, it's completely immaterial to me. Like, I'm not denying it, but I'm not saying it's necessary either. You got to show me why it matters.
I asked you a very specific question. I said, do you assert and affirm that God is the necessary prerequisite for all facts? And you said no. Is that correct?
No. Do you assert and affirm that God is the necessary prerequisite for all facts?
Yes, I do.
How do you know that?
Okay,
there you go.
Now, do you assert that God is the necessary prerequisite?
Okay, so skip past that, right? So she's got a point, right? How do you know that? Well, he's revealed it. Okay, there's an opening for a really good conversation. How do you know that he's revealed it? How do you know that it was the God revealing it and not just some demon or familiar spirit or some kind of other thing? How do you know any of this? But he doesn't want to go there, right? This is how you can tell you're engaged with a bad faith interlocutor, because he is basically going, God revealed it, move along. Mm-hmm. He wants it to seem like it is absolutely set in stone. Whereas, that is a track we need to go down if you're saying, hey, God did all these things. I want to investigate that, because if God did reveal it in some way, what am I not seeing? Right? Why am I not seeing this revelation?
Yeah, absolutely. If we're wrong, we want to know. Show us the receipts. If you're just claiming shit and refusing to back it up, well, we could claim, Odin revealed that your revelation was a lie from a demon. Right. Exactly the same evidence. I'm just claiming shit.
Yeah,
and speaking of claiming shit, Jason Jacoby.
Oh, Jason, what a
$5. Thank you so much for the bonus stream. If anybody hasn't noticed, YouTube has enabled an option where we can set goals for super chats for streams. It's a fun extra thing. We can set up a goal. If the goal gets met, then we do a reward. I've tried a few different ones since they enabled the feature. The only one that's ever done anything was promising to do a bonus stream. So I put that in there again today. And yeah, Jason is all for it. So that's 2
awesome
so far. Yay! Thank you.
That's 2. Let's get there. Let's get those 5 and make Ember do a bonus stream. Add to Ember's workload. Make her work. Make her work. Yeah. So I 100% support this. What was I going to say? The other thing is, right? Did you notice the switch of frame there? Right? Because we're talking about a deistic God. Darth has made that absolutely clear. And he said a God is the precondition for all facts, or whatever the stupid crap that he says every single time is. He'll vary it up a bit, precondition, intelligibility. He loves these words because he thinks that people don't understand them, which a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't get the context and stuff. And it's like, I have noticed that in talking to people who talk about philosophy, and there's people that talk about science and things like that, they all have their own vocabulary, but Darth doesn't use the normal philosophical vocabulary. He's got his own one that means things to him, the ultimate precursor for the intelligibility of states of affairs. You don't hear philosophers. That is specific to him. But he was talking about a deistic God, and he's like, yes, a God is necessary. How do you know that? Through his revelation. Well, hold on a second. A deist God, by definition, doesn't reveal anything. Okay, a deist God has no revelation because they're not interacting with the world after the initial creation and setting things in motion. So that can't possibly be true in the context of a deist God, because a deist God basically set up the universe to work how it works, and then hands off, let her run. Let her cook, universe, let her cook. So when he says revelation, she could have had him right there and said, hey, how does a deist God provide revelation? What revelation are you seeing from a deist God?
Yeah,
because that makes no sense to me.
A deist, if they're,
right, and if
it's counter.
But he doesn't want to talk about it because he knows full well that will drag him into Christianity, where he does not want to be, even though the debate topic is atheist versus Christianity. So he wants to just say, well, there's a God, it's confirmed, it's there, and that's presuppositionalism. I presuppose there's a God. Now prove me wrong. But she quite rightly said, how do you know there's a God there? And he's like, revelation, move on, move on, move on, move on. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I will not show my work.
Well, I'm just pointing out the double standard. And this is what we see. And this is, just bring it back to the Mott and Bailey fallacy. This is what we see a lot. So when he needs to, he'll go out to that weaker position to try and defend a bit, but he'll always retreat back in. And so you'll get these shifting positions all the time. And I mean, Darth Dawkins is the worst. He is the worst debater, worst, apologist. He's like the worst human being. Yeah.
I don't know as I'd call him the worst, but
he's pretty bad. I mean, he's a contender, if nothing else.
Top 10 for sure. My unfinished sock says, don't make up BS explanations of the Trinity. Like and share the stream instead. I mean, you can do both, but if you like and share, I'd appreciate that. It helps. It helps a lot.
Gosh, this is crazy. Do I assert that God is, no, I don't, but you do, because he revealed it to you, right?
No,
okay, so I'm going to, this is going to be fun. I'm going to assume your perspective.
I'd like to finish.
You want to finish where you're leading me to? This is a manipulation tactic.
No, it's not manipulation.
No, it really is. You're leading me towards your desired outcome in the conversation.
Wait a second.
You don't want to have a conversation. This is an interrogation that is leading me towards your desired outcome.
Yes, and she's right. She's right.
Yeah, she spotted it early, and she keeps calling it out, and he's denying that too. Like he is just unable to be honest about any, like, if you say, is your name Gary, he'll say no. He just cannot be truthful.
No, that's what it is. You're leading me towards your proposed desired outcome and refusing to answer questions that are posited to you. Because you have a directive.
I hate muting you, but please forgive me. Don't make me mute you, please. Okay, so if we backtrack just a step to be sure where we are, I love your guys' passion. And so just to be sure that, like, in terms of where we are, maybe what we could also do too, because I know that there were two kind of arguments or kind of questions, cases that were being made, in the sense that one was kind of with Shannon kind of making a case that there might be an incoherence with the mind on Christianity, and also with Duncan's case and where he was headed. And so maybe if we take turns, is it okay if we do take turns where if Shannon wants to ask a question now?
That's fine. I've been above board trying in good faith to answer her questions, and she's constantly evading and over talking me when I'm trying to get to a point. And then she wants to psychoanalyze me as though I need psychotherapy.
I am amazed. I am amazed his microphone doesn't just burst into flame. No, I've been acting in good faith and answering questions. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. No, Shannon's been the one acting in good faith and answering questions. And when she says something that you try to one word dismiss and then move past straight away, she wants to investigate that because it's a really good question. Like, if you have revelation, like, what is that revelation and how do we know that revelation is correct? And how can I see this revelation? Because if there is a God and they are revealing stuff, how can I see this thing? Right? This isn't like a sort of a gotcha, trick to say, hey, you can't show it to me. No, if there is an actual revelation, how do I see it? Honestly see it.
Yeah.
That the problem is that a lot of the time we get, well, you've got to believe first, and that's not a revelation. That's believing first and then getting the evidence after you believe it wholeheartedly, which is easy to do with anything. You can do that with anything. If you 100% believe in aliens, you can always find evidence for aliens. It's very easy to do.
Well, the difference there is, aliens are a potentially naturalistic thing that are almost certain to exist in some form or fashion. I mean, there could be microbes on enchiladas, they could really exist. So believing in them is at least a logical thing to do. It's wild. Left-handed Jedi sends $5. Thank you so much, and says Babelfish disproves God. I'm
trying to remember the thing out of the book, because that's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was basically, the Babelfish was a fish that you put in your ear that could translate any language into any other language. So basically a universal translator that was a fish. Douglas Adams' usual take on, absurd stuff. So the philosopher, I can't remember his name, he was this alien philosopher that's like goes to God and says, God basically says, I refuse to prove that I exist because proof denies faith, and without faith, I am nothing, right? That's the original startup. And the philosopher goes to him and is like, but the Babelfish is a dead giveaway, isn't it? That's something like that couldn't have evolved by chance. Therefore, you've proved that you exist. Therefore, you're nothing and you don't exist. And God says, oh, I didn't think of that, and vanishes in a flash of logic kind of thing. And then it says, and then the philosopher went on to prove that black is white and got himself run over at the next zebra crossing. It's just like, so having a go at both God and philosophy in general. Douglas Adams, what a guy. He is missed.
Absolutely, it's such good shit. But yeah, the Babelfish is just fantastic because it's named Babel because of the Tower of Babel, the reversing of language thing. It just there's so much cool shit. But we do digress.
One second. We just
because it's interesting.
No, you're being sleazy.
No, you're being a bit of a manipulator.
Wow.
You gotta relax.
No.
Hold on a second.
And I find it difficult to
So
respect
sorry, you
that.
guys. Hold on. If you can just give me a sec. If we can just, without commentary on how it's been going so far, I think we can keep going for just a bit longer before Q&A, if we want to do that.
I'd like an answer to my question, all right? And she's filibustering and evading it. And
I would like an answer to my question about this.
I did answer
what we'll do is,
You didn't, though. You evaded the question because you wanted to get back on
Wow,
Here we
this
go
is
again.
breaking down now.
hold on a second. I think that the last one was asked by Duncan, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, so let me know if I am. And then I think Shannon had answered that one. I think, Duncan, you were asking another. Is it okay if we have Shannon ask one of her questions and we'll come back to the one that you were on?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks so much.
My question to her, right?
Well, this is the,
Okay, so is it okay if Shannon, because Darth has been asking all the questions, he has really been dictating where it goes because that's part of his script. He has to. You can really tell when somebody is actually being good faith because you give them a sort of, off the wall question. And I've had this plenty of times with Christians in debates and in conversations and things. You'll go, oh, well, I remember being in a debate and a question came in on modern day debate. A question came in and I sort of asked him, oh, what has, what have your religion really discovered about the world to share with us? At least he considered it and went, well, there's supernatural things, but you wouldn't believe in those. So at least he was engaging with it. Darth isn't like that. He's got a script and he's going to run it because that gives him the gotchas, and he runs it on people that really can't fight him. And if they can, he'll mute them so they can't give answers, right? It's a game to him. It really is this power game where he gets to win. It's like somebody, rigging a game of chance and then being really proud when he wins it. it's
Mhm.
sort of ridiculous. You know, it just shows how low his sort of self-esteem is.
Yeah, let's play chess, but I make
Yeah.
all your moves. You're not allowed to move. Yay, I won!
The last question I was asking her, when I asked her how is it that there is no God, I'm still waiting for an answer to that. She said because she doesn't have an answer about how the soul would interface with the body, that it doesn't follow from that there is no ultimate creator God. And I'd like to know from Shannon, how is it that there is no creator God? Her position entails the falsity of all God concepts. So how is it that God is false, Shannon?
I
Wow.
explicitly stated that you could potentially get me to a deistic position, but that it wouldn't necessarily matter and that I wouldn't worship that God.
So you're no longer an
Okay.
atheist?
No, I feel as though I'm legitimately, from a philosophical perspective, more of a temporal agnostic, where like I don't refute the existence of any potential God. I more so don't believe in any proposed God that has been presented to me.
I've already explained to you
So-
why that's incorrect.
So he's basically giving the philosophy of religion definition of atheism. And atheism, it's a polysemous word. It can mean different things depending on the context. The generally agreed colloquial definition of atheism, or the generally used one by most people, is simply a lack of belief in any God, or somebody that does not believe in a God. From there, you can distinguish into hard and soft atheism. There's different definitions. Sometimes philosophers go to philosophy of religion, which says that atheist is someone that says there is no God. So to the proposition, does God exist? They say no. They you know, it's a harder position. But, you know, and Darth is one of those people, and they kind of annoy me, that think that these words have a set definition that, you know, you can't use. I'm not too concerned about definitions of words. I don't really care. What's important is the position. And if you're using definitions to misrepresent someone's position, just stop. Like, just stop. I mean, there's some things that, you know, if something is so absurd normatively, like I ran into somebody the other day that was saying that he applies God to literally anything you worship. So you could worship football, or, you know, that, and that would be a God, which makes you a theist. And it's like, okay, well, you can use those definitions, but, you know, if you worship, like, you know, it just devalues the word to a point that nobody agrees with it. It's like, okay, well, you can use those definitions, have at it. But I mean, no one's going to understand you when you say everybody's a theist because they all worship something. It just seems like semantics or word games, basically.
Yeah, kiddie table
Yeah.
nonsense. I'm kind of with Shannon on this. Like, I could be convinced of a God. In fact, sometimes just for fun and profit, I like to use a passage from the Bible. I think it's in Psalms 8. I'd have to look it up to be absolutely sure, where the Bible itself says, you humans are all gods. And I'm like, okay, we're all gods. And it kind of fits many of the definitions of godhood at the time, in, you know, being mortal, being fallible, being able to enact your will to a limited extent upon reality.
Right.
Yeah, humans meet those criteria.
Yeah.
Sure, at basically having agency, the ability to affect the world. If that's godhood, then yeah, I'll believe in gods, but it includes humans. And that's kind
Right.
of fun, you know? You
Yeah.
can be an atheist, but also believe in gods because you are one, you know? And it's pretty neat.
Yeah, but it's important to understand that language is imprecise. It always is imprecise. And sort of there's an interesting analysis to be made of when two people use the same word. Are they really talking about the same thing? They might not be. So sort of having clarification and being able to discuss what you actually mean is really important. But that's not important to Darth here. He just wants that gotcha, basically. That's all he's after. All these people with these scripts, that's exactly what they're after, you know.
Yeah, and if they had a leg to stand on, as I've often said, if you want to just demonstrate the reality of your claim, this thing that should be not only very obvious, but inescapably obvious, then pull back the fucking curtain and show us, instead of playing these stupid word games. This kiddie table nonsense, it devalues confidence in the strength of your position.
the second time you've repeated the same response.
What we're going to do.
But then you repeated the same question. If you already explained to me why it's incorrect, why did you repeat the question?
Because you're being evasive.
I do
That's
want to
why.
get one of Shannon's questions in now regarding the spirit or the soul on the Christian worldview possibly being incoherent. So if we can jump back to that one, and then I promise we'll come right back to your question, Darth. I'm hoping this will diffuse it a little bit, so we can keep, you know what I mean?
I'm not
I think
necessarily
she's very uncomfortable that answer.
Hold on, I know, but
I'm not uncomfortable at all. I answered it honestly.
Shannon, now is a good chance.
But I'm not
You asked your
fulfilling
question.
I'm not fulfilling the necessary responses in order to lead in a specific direction. And I think that might be what is ultimately frustrating to you, which is why you threw it back on me potentially by saying that I am dishonest. One of the reasons that I'm smiling is because, and you're interrupting. Oh, okay. So evasive. You said some other things about me earlier. I can't remember them verbatim, so I won't assert them, but you cast aspersions on my intentions. And one of the reasons I think that you may have done that, and this is from my perspective, so that you can know how I'm feeling in this conversation as I'm interacting with you, which is an important part of dialectical approaches, is that you're attempting to lead me down a specific path. And the reason is because you have a sort of set of scripted responses. And if one of those responses that I give doesn't hit, instead of exploring what that means to me, what you intend to do is ask another series of questions that leads to, until you ultimately get a response set that allows you to progress along to your ultimate outcome. And that is a little bit frustrating and potentially a manipulation tactic that is something that, while you're calling me evasive, I've actually answered your questions honestly, in so much as I understand them as coherent to me. Okay, and when I asked for clarification, you've called me evasive, but that was actually just me asking for clarification so that I can ensure that I'm answering them honestly.
So now, we're clear how you feel. So do you now affirm there is a God?
That is so dismissive and like, now we know how you feel. No, it's pointing out that you're not engaging in an honest way. So I can't answer your question unless you clarify what you mean. But Darth's shtick is to make it as dense and unintelligible as possible, so you can't understand it, and he won't clarify things. I've heard people ask Darth to clarify a question, and he's repeated the question, and then they've asked him to clarify again, and he's repeated exactly the same words over again. This is one of the ways that A, you know someone's using a script, and B, you know they're not interested in an honest discussion because they're not actually even trying to clarify what they mean.
Mm-hmm. And you know, we can't have that because that might lead to nuance, which is terrifying for some reason.
No, I don't affirm that there is a God.
Okay, then your position entails the falsity of God.
Oh my goodness. It goes right.
Are you afraid to defend your atheism? I mean,
no.
I see you regularly on YouTube, proclaiming you're an atheist. So
I am.
Are you still an atheist?
Yes, I would say colloquially yes, but philosophically I'm more of a temporal agnostic.
Okay, well, I explained to you that that's incorrect, okay, because you do not affirm and assert that God is the necessary prerequisite for facts. That non-assertion is an indirect denial. Are you aware of that?
Fascinating phrasing. Are you aware of that? Affirms that what you just stated is ultimately correct, and that in my response,
are you aware of it?
Wow, your dialectic approach is really, really fascinating. Like your choices, like when you say, "Are you aware of that?" You're affirming what I just said is accurate. Are you aware that I was? No, because it wasn't really a question. It was a veiled assertion.
So here she's talking about a loaded question, right? So a loaded question is, when did you stop eating snacks, right? So it assumes that the question that you're starting on is actually true. So if I go to Ember and I say, "Are you aware that your debates are really interesting?" Like you're not giving any room for disagreement. It's sort of, there's places for loaded questions, but this is obviously and Darth does this all the time. He loads his questions like, "Are you aware that you're wrong about this?" It's like, yeah, but I'm not. That's the thing. But this is the yes-no thing that you get into. And a lot of these script users do this. Yeah, I'm sorry, Vortex Alpha. If you're saying, evolution isn't established science, I'm sorry, you're deluded. You're just deluded.
Well, there's a lot of disingenuousness going on from certain people in the side chat. But I'm
really sorry, mate. You might disagree with science, but it absolutely is it is the base in the curriculum of you're saying abiogenesis isn't established science? Yeah, sure. I will acknowledge that. Yeah, sure. It's scientific investigation, but not there's no theory of abiogenesis. I got you. Yeah, single-celled humans is evolution, and that's been confirmed. It is established science. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
So I'm not straw manning you at all. So I'm actually, that is established science. I'm really sorry, but that is the case. If you actually had any knowledge of scientific journals, you would actually see that. I'm really sorry you're a science denier, but that is what it is. Prove it? You mean like give you the thousands and thousands of scientific papers written on the subject that you've just blissfully not aware of? Like,
he's just going to claim, well, there's the possibility of special creation by his particular version of a god that he can't demonstrate. It's possible, but you have to prove the observable known fact upon which much of modern science and technology is based. You have to demonstrate this known fact. But the special pleading, no, that's fine. Okay. Oh, this is hilarious.
Look, you can deny science. That's fine. You can say, "Hey, science doesn't work," or science, but sort of saying that. So Google Scholar lists about 6 million papers on evolution, right? 6 million. Okay, that is ones that mention it, ones that are tied to it. Almost all biology will reference it because it's such an important point of it. I don't even know where to start with that. Look, it means something. Look, you can say that it's not true, but it means something in science, okay? Like, wow. Woo! Science deniers, eh?
Oh, yeah. I saw they threw out the microevolution thing, which it's cool. I appreciate the concession that microevolution is a fact. Because microevolution is evolution. You just admitted evolution is a fact. And in the words of Laplace, that means we have no need for your God hypothesis. Thanks for playing, though.
It's not a nonsense term, Titan. It's not a nonsense term. It basically refers to evolution below the speciation level, basically. So, but it's sort of it's like a arbitrary thing that is that we put a meaning on. It's like saying, hey, seconds isn't it's like saying, well, seconds are a thing, but hours aren't. And that's seconds would be the microevolution, hours being the macroevolution. It's all the same thing. It's all just time, right? And micro and macro are just our designations for below the species level and above the species level. So it isn't a nonsense term. It does mean something, but it's not something, it's like seconds and hours. And basically these people who are science deniers are basically going, well, you've proved that seconds exist, but you've got no proof that hours do. I mean, it's just nonsense. Like the way they use it is nonsense.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Wim Sweden here points out, saying microevolution is a thing is like saying language only occurs in Latin, never leads to Italian. Or, it's a variation. I think I've heard it from Matt Dillahunty, among other people, who says, say Latin couldn't become French because you don't believe in macro-linguistic evolution. It can only occur in micro steps, little dialectic changes and whatnot. Clearly it does. You could say, oh, Latin's been demonstrated, French has been demonstrated, but clearly French was made by special creation. The god of language appeared and poofed it into being, because it's inconceivable that Latin speakers could gradually shift their language until it becomes French. It's fucking wild. But if you want to have a debate about that, an actual debate, not just nonsense in the side chat, you can email either Mark or myself. Our emails are listed on our respective channels, and Mark's channel is linked in the description. Feel free to bug either of us, and we'll set up a thing. It'll be fun. Yeah. I haven't debated in a while. Oh, goodness. I could use one.
Yeah, I get itchy for debates after a long period of not doing it.
Yeah.
which
You
is really, really
understand-
fascinating.
you
Okay, so can you
understand
ask me
the-
the same
okay, let me
question without, are you aware of that at the
Shannon,
end?
Shannon,
As an
you
actual
can
question.
Stop with the shtick. Shannon, you can stop with the
You think
smiling.
I have a shtick? That's amazing.
Okay, you guys have said
Yeah.
hold on 1 second. You guys hold on 1 second.
This
The
is a funny
projection is real.
thing. Mhm. You have to. You have to.
Hmm.
I'm not doing a thing. You're doing the thing that I'm definitely not doing. Mhm.
Yeah,
All right,
you're on
all right.
top. You want to do the psychoanalysis.
1 second. 1
I'm
second.
fine.
1
That's
second.
so
Listen,
cool.
hold on, guys.
You think
Hold
I
on a
have
second.
Laugh and
1
giggle
second.
all you want, like a schoolgirl, but you're being
I am.
fired
I'm just like a
faces.
schoolgirl, just like a silly schoolgirl.
Okay,
I don't know why you're
so
bothering with me.
We,
Well, listen, God is a worldview, okay, where it's the
Mhm.
creator-creation distinction.
But see, he's
If you do
still like it was supposed to be Shannon's turn to ask questions, right? And he still isn't, even though the moderator has said, hey, Shannon, ask some questions, then we'll go back to you. He cannot allow that. He can't allow it because his entire shtick is this script. It's all he's got.
Oh, I got so sidetracked by our tangent. I almost missed a thing. Left-handed Jedi sends $5. Thank you so much, and says humans are apes. Deal with it.
Yep. And our most closest relative is the bonobo and chimpanzee. Absolutely. That's been demonstrated beyond any doubt. It's only sort of faith that keep people from, sort of acknowledging it. And
Well,
I feel sorry
closest
for them.
Existing relatives, we should.
That's true.
clarify,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Exant. Yes.
Affirm it, then you deny it. There's no escaping this, okay? Either you affirm that the ultimacy of reality is a personal creator, or you are deriving intelligibility without that.
You keep
There's no
smuggling in
third
personal.
alternative.
You keep smuggling in personal. That's an interesting word choice too. Does anybody ever dissect your word choices? Like they're very calculated. It's actually really, really interesting because you keep smuggling in personal, and you also say things at the end of your, like when you're talking to people, you say, "Do you understand that?" or "You don't understand that." And those
Would
are
you
very
prefer I made it in the form
explicit
of a
choices in dialectic approaches,
Do you,
so that you
do you
can make
accept
sure.
that your position entails the falsity of God?
Do
Does
I?
your pos-
Yeah.
Is your position?
So-
let me demonstrate the thing.
Yes. So he has been doing this over and over and over. So he has gotten into this. I'm going to assert something, or I'm just asking questions is his kind of defense, or you won't answer my questions. So the way that he's asking the questions, you can't answer that question with a yes, no, because he's saying, God exists. Do you understand that? Right? Like, so it's just loaded questions. A very deceptive, very manipulative way to engage with people. Do you understand that this is the case? It's not a question like that you can answer a yes, no. And when you sort of say, hey, that's not true because of these reasons, he's like, you're not answering the question. It's so lazy and childish and just horrible,
Mhm.
Look, Vortex, I've given you the National Institute of Medicine, paper on the evidence. You can start there, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There's so much evidence for evolution; it's crazy. I get that people have been telling you from the theist side, and Donnie from Stanny's like, "Oh, we've busted evolution. It doesn't need there." They have done no such thing. They've solved evolution like they've solved the heat problem, which is not at all like
They've made a lot of fun content for Guts
Yeah.
at Gibbon and a bunch of the other science friends to take apart, though. In fact,
Yeah.
the best performing current video on my channel has to do with taking apart nonsense standing for truth put up.
Yeah.
No.
Entail the falsity of God?
Does my position? No, because I'm open
Yes,
to
it does.
counter. That's so fun. You're telling me what my position is now, but you're also
Yes,
telling
I
me
did.
you're not a manipulator
1 second.
and that you don't have a script or a
I'm trying
shtick.
to have a,
Let's
I'm trying to have
do
a
this.
conversation with
No,
you.
you're writing
Hold on 1
scripts.
second.
This is
I know.
amazing.
Forgive me. I got to interrupt,
Yeah.
guys. Just forgive me. I think that we had there. Duncan had asked the question, do you think that entails like positive atheism, as some have called it, or the negation of God's existence?
Oh, I already said I'm essentially philosophily temporal agnostic. I've said that a
Okay.
couple of times.
Okay,
I'm open
hold
to.
on
I'm
one
open
second, hold on
to.
1 second. And then so
Obviously,
I think
you
that, hold
understand.
on a second, is that I think then Duncan asked, or I think Duncan said like, no, it does entail negation of theism.
But he
That's
didn't
not
explain
going
it.
to
He's just
Okay,
telling me I'm
well,
wrong.
all right, what we'll do is we'll give Duncan a chance to try to explain that, and then we don't have too much time before we go to the Q&A, because I want to say
Fine.
thanks again to both of our speakers
Yeah.
for being willing to go late with us tonight. It is very
Yeah.
late. And
Oh, it is.
It would have been more productive if we didn't have the psychoanalysis shtick and performance.
we've got
No, it's not even psychoanalysis. It's dialectic approach analysis. It's
Yeah,
really a
yeah,
fascinating
psychobabble.
concept.
Yeah.
No, No,
it's
like, it really is
Okay,
fascinating.
let's see. What we can do is go ahead and.
Yeah, and so there's a differentiation to be made there. She's not analyzing his behavioral and so psychology is essentially behavioral studies, what we do in behavior, how we think and how that affects behavior. So mental states and behavior. She's not analyzing that. She's analyzing his word choices within statements. Is it that really part of psychology, the field of, yeah, kind of. I think she's sort of splitting hairs, but I don't blame her because, splitting hairs is, fish swim in water like Darth Dawkins splits hairs, like that's the stream that he rides in. So I don't have a problem with it.
Do you have a lot of experience with hairs, Mark?
No.
I have to. I can't resist.
No, that's fine. That's cool. I like it.
Cut it, Shannon.
What we'll do
Well,
is,
I can't see what your face looks like, so there's that.
But I'm not being rude. You are.
No, you
People are
are.
smiling
You're being
while you're
manipulative, which is de
Right,
facto
more
rude.
psychobabble. More psychobabble.
okay, what we'll do is if Darth.
After you
or-
question
This
about
hurts
your
him
position.
so
No,
much.
Mm,
Like he is just more psychopath. She's not right about me being manipulative. My wives haven't left me because I'm manipulative. It really is. Yeah, you are manipulative. Like, I don't think there's anybody that has sort of been an atheist and engaged with you and gone, no, he's a straight shooter that, argues in good faith. Nobody thinks that. Darth Dawkins isn't famous because he's a good debater. He's famous because he's a mess.
yeah, guaranteed trash fires every time.
And so on the first section, I sort of said, and it always, like, this is the thing. I'm not a psychologist, but he shows such sort of narcissistic behavior, the inability to take criticism, the overwhelmingly have to boast about how well he does, the manipulation of others into feeling inferior to him kind of thing. This kind of behavior is really worrying. And tons of people have told Darth that he's got issues. And so, he wants to just go, oh, well, it's psychobabble. It doesn't apply to me. She just hurt him.
And that's a great tell for when, somebody is getting under someone like Darth's skin, when they feel like they have to dismiss an entire field of study that they don't actually understand. Oh, I don't follow, therefore it's nonsense. It's just babble. It's like evolution. It's completely undemonstrated.
Yeah. Look, and I've had people say to me psychology is a pseudoscience, and it's like, are you out of, like, what is wrong with these people? Like, seriously, we have such documented studies and papers and all of this stuff, like millions of them. And you want to say, hey, I've got a book I like. Great.
It's a magic book, though. It tells the future.
I forgot.
Like the undead carpenter guy. He's going to
Yeah,
come back
that's
before
right.
his disciples all die off.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he made that deadline, to be honest with you, but you can have faith if you want. Look, and I'm not telling people what to believe. It's just, if you want to believe that like evolution is unscientific, you are just wrong. I'm really sorry. You just are. Like, you can disbelieve evolution all you want. Go for it. Go nuts. But when you're talking about science and scientific institutions and scientific studies and things like that, I'm really sorry, but science backs evolution. It just does. Sorry. And flat earthers do the same. They're like, oh, this globe thing isn't real science. We've got the real science. No, you don't. Like, honestly, you
All
don't.
anyone has ever observed.
Right. Yep.
You can say whatever you like about me. You're attempting to manipulate me in a conversation. So your
Before-
assertions
hold on,
regarding my
hold on,
intentions
hold on,
actually
I'm
are of
sorry,
no
guys.
consequence to
I
me.
hate to do this. Forgive me, I muted both of you. Sorry about that. Just for a second. So now would be a good chance. Duncan,
James was not sorry about that.
if you want to ask the question regarding, if you want to explain how Shannon's position actually leads to a negation of theism, this is a perfect chance, because otherwise I understand your concern about the way the discussion is going or has gone. Fair enough.
Well, that's what I've been attempting to do.
Okay. We'll give you a shot right
But
now.
you just want.
No, he has
Oh,
not.
okay, well, hold on. All right.
He has not. What he's been doing is demanding she show there is no God, right? He hasn't explained why her not believing in a God leads to its negation. He has not explained that and will not explain it. This is the presupp shtick. It's basically saying, well, I'm going to presuppose a God exists. That is then a standard, and you've got to show that I'm wrong. That isn't how we do things. I don't presuppose that, you know, Grimace is actually a real person, and then you got to show that he's not. Like that's not how anything works. It's ridiculous.
I mean, you can see Grimace. You can interact with Grimace at like McDonald's Land or something. I don't fucking know. But like, even if it's just a dude in a costume, it's still more demonstration the thing exists than is being presented for the all-powerful creator of the cosmos. It's freaking wild. Elle, we were just talking about you. Discworld Edgewitch was asking about bingo cards, and I was like, "Oh, we need Elle," and suddenly Elle appears. More evidence for Elle than for God. Just saying. You supposedly you ask God for something, and he does the thing, or he appears, or sends an angel to explain whatever. There's evidence. Ask for an Elle, he actually shows up. It's pretty neat.
God is a worldview. It entails the creator-creation distinction, sometimes referred as the creator-creature distinction.
No, it's not really. Honestly, it doesn't really, like, you know, there's worldviews that are differing religions, like Muslim is a worldview and Christianity is. I don't think just God is a worldview. You know what I mean? Like, because even if you think there's a deist God, it doesn't really tell you anything about your view on the world. You know, I guess you could say it's a view on the creation of the universe, but it really doesn't tell you a lot. I don't think that's a worldview. You know, just God. That's not a worldview.
I'm slightly distracted because I have a feeling that Elle's gonna need a wrench soon, so I was making sure he has one.
Okay.
Left-Handed Jedi sends $5 and says, "We found amino acids on the Bennu asteroid," which is true. One of my favorite science facts from the last year, the whole fucking year. So cool. And also achieves our goal. So we're doing a bonus stream. I'm not sure about what topic yet, but we're going to do one. So make sure you're subscribed and ring the bell so you get a notification when I do set that beastie up. Because my work schedule is weird and I don't know when we're going to do it. But yay, we do a bonus show. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Thank you, Jedi.
That foundation, or you will deny it as a worldview. Okay, whatever worldview and its ultimacy and its dependent states that you do not accept, then you deny it in virtue of the law of excluded middle. If you do not affirm,
That's not how that works.
You can reject it. You can reject that as lacking evidence for it or lacking any kind of demonstration for it. You don't have to deny it. Like, that's a very weird word choice. You have to deny it. I suppose in a way you do, but it's more a rejection than a denial, right? It's not saying, hey, I have this other thing which makes yours impossible. It's saying, hey, I reject it because you haven't actually shown it.
Yeah, there's a term for it when it's basically putting words in someone else's mouth. If you don't say that blue is your favorite color, then you're denying blue even exists. No, that's not the position. No. What do you mean?
God is the necessary precondition of all facts, which is a worldview. Then you are operating from another worldview where the necessary precondition of facts is not God. There's no third alternative. You cannot be indifferent or claim ignorance. That's why I asked you the question, do you assert that God is the necessary precondition of all facts? And you said no. So that means that your position entails that facts can be viable and intelligible without necessitating referencing God as the precondition.
That's definitely a false dichotomy, because you could definitely say, I don't know. I'm not convinced either way.
Yeah, so he's, again, like I said earlier, he's mixing up epistemology and ontology, and he will do this a lot when you know what you're looking for. So ontology is the actuality of things, and epistemology is how you know things. So It may be, and I'll give you an example, because a lot of people, they've heard the terms and gone, nonsense, philosophy doesn't mean anything. If I think that, for instance, I believe that I left the dishes out last night, right? Or just say I did the dishes, put them away. Actually, I cooked last night, so Lynn did them. But just say Lynn did them. So my epistemology is I believe that dishes are sitting in the dryer over there. That's epistemology, right? Because Lynn did them, left them there last night. That's what I think is the case. I have reasons for believe that. All of that is epistemology. Now, beyond that, what is actually there, whether they are there or not, is ontology, right? That's the actuality behind it. So just say Lynn went and took the dishes and put them away unbeknown to me. So they're not there anymore. That's the ontology. But the epistemology is you can't access that ontology. You can't go, oh, well, I'm just going to go directly to that. No, there must be reasons why you believe what you believe. So what he's doing here is he's sort of saying, hey, you don't believe there's a God in your worldview, right? So go to the ontology of how you, how is that the case directly without actually giving me the reasons why you think it's the case? That's not how any of this works. He's mixing it up. And he's sort of saying, hey, I have this ontology, this actuality that God is there. You've got to show that it is impossible, that it can't work. And, without the reasons why you believe it. So you'll see him do a lot of this. Because you don't believe it, does that make the God not there? Right? That's a nonsensical statement. You're mixing categories. You're mixing what the actuality is with the reasons why you believe it. The reasons why you believe it is why you're an atheist. But he's trying to frame it as, well, it's got to be true for you to be an atheist. No, I could be completely wrong about a God, right? I could actually be 100% wrong and a God does exist and he's laughing because he played the best game of hide and seek from me ever, right? That could be the case. And I would still be an atheist because of what I believe. But he's trying to frame it in a way that, it makes it so much more difficult to work with ontologies than it is to work with your beliefs and knowledge and things like that. But who does that? I mean,
we could
Darth
just
Dawkins, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, we could just go look in the dryer and see if there's dishes. But that let's argue about your denying there's dishes.
Position entails
yeah.
Yeah.
But that would still be epistemology. It would still be the reason why you think it's not there is because it's in the dishwasher. Those are still the reasons. You can't get to the ontology of things. That's just the actuality of them, right? Ontology is sort of spoken of in a very hypothetical sense. You can never get to it, kind of thing. It is just all you have for your beliefs and knowledge are epistemology, the reasons why you believe it. Ontology is more like a hypothetical of what it actually is, but it is the actuality. It's kind of hard to understand, but when you separate the two, it becomes more clear that, hey, I've got all these reasons for why I think this is the case, but the actuality of things are what I'm trying to get to. But how do you get to an absolute certainty about things? It seems like we have a problem of fallibility. We can't really get to any, you could be in a simulation, you could be, and none of that could be true. You could, there's all these problems with getting to 100% absolute certainty.
A lot of it is just nonsense, though. Like, a lot of times we use the example of the Spider-Man comics. If you were in the Spider-Man comics, then it would be true that Spider-Man exists. If you're in a simulation, okay, so the dishes aren't real, but within the context of being in the simulation, they are. So it doesn't actually matter, for all intents and purposes. From a certain point of view, in fact, probably several certain points of view, none of this reality actually exists. It's only in the relative context of being within the reality, whatever that means. I digress a bit.
Yeah, looks like Discworld Edgewitch has said the research paradigm, methodology, epistemology, and ontology explained in simple languages. Yeah, I'll link it. It seems interesting.
Yeah, all kinds of goodies.
Yeah, that's
there's
looks like
that.
a really. I mean, I haven't read it, but it does look like a good article. So yeah, it basically says that ontology, what is reality? Epistemology, how do you know something? And methodology, how do you go about finding it out? Which is, you know, I would agree with that set of definitions. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fun stuff. We're learning all kinds of goodies. Okay, there's Al with bingo cards. Let me see. Oh, I've opened too many windows. Now I have to go back to find the thing. I gotta click buttons. Okay. Generate a card for helmeted squish puppet. Oh goodness, we're a good chunk of the way through a part 2, so I'm not sure everybody's card is going to be unique. I imagine.
Okay.
But I'm gonna real quick try to click on things that have definitely happened. Ignore logic. Yeah, got that. Misogyny. Yeah, he called her a little girl.
Yep.
Ember says erudite thing. I don't know if I can call that one.
Angry Gary is in the center. That's
the free space.
Does it mean like the bald joke? Does that mean like he makes a bald joke or we make a? I think we made a bald joke. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he would make a bald joke. So yeah, I think it's probably us.
Argument about argument definitely happened.
Oh, for sure. Mark says erudite thing. Yep, that's happened. Shannon laughing. We had a great one just moments ago.
Strawman definitely happened.
Yeah, where's Strawman? Yep, we got Strawman already. Bad logic. Oh my goodness, we've covered that one extremely.
God necessary. Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
A couple of these I don't know what they are. Like exasperated. I'm not sure. Is that you getting exasperated, Al? I'm not 100% sure what that is.
Let's see.
2 keys? What is 2 keys? Is that like 2 quo quay or what is 2 keys?
I'm not sure. Lasai, you can't. God must. Oh, God must has definitely happened.
Yeah.
Silly Gary braids are for people. Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna click that one too.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm sort of lost on the source here, so I don't know what's happened and what hasn't. I'm gonna just do it as I see fit.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Gary Precepts the whole time. That's. Shannon Skewers has happened more than a couple of times. Gary trying to win. Definitely. I'm going to go with that one. Gary seethed when he throws a little fit about Shannon, being a little girl. I'm gonna say micro debate about how to debate also. Because he threw that little fit about the way she's supposed to answer when she was saying how he was trying to control how she's supposed to answer. Oh, goodness. Somehow. Oh, wait. I think I do have a bingo. Diagonally. Ignore logic. God. You know what? I'll share my tab. Ignore logic. God necessary. Gary angry. Bald joke. And micro debate about how to debate. So hooray. I could probably fill in a bunch more, but yeah, good stuff. So yeah, thank you, Al. That was. Oh, I was inaudible.
I didn't hear Ember.
That's unfortunate. I've heard that that's a thing with StreamYard lately when I'm not just me. Grayson had a problem earlier on his trash talk show earlier today. Something happened and he Justin could hear the caller, but Grayson couldn't hear the caller, even though Justin could. It's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy sauce, but I was in a separate thing. But yeah, thanks, L, and Discrolled Edgewitch got bingo and brand recognition theft. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they're always fun.
Falsity of God. Whether you realize it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, your position entails the falsity of God. You understand?
Do you understand?
He's doing it again.
Yeah.
He's declaring a thing, and instead of
Yes.
saying, do you agree, he's saying, do you understand?
Right.
However she answers, it's still leaving that assertion unchallenged if she answers yes or no, which is why she won't answer yes or no.
Do you accept what I said?
I don't accept what you said. I heard what you said.
Good. Give me a rebuttal.
All right, what we're going to do is we'll give Shannon a rebuttal, and then we will probably go into the Q&A, and we survived it unscathed.
No, we want
so-
Shannon to
fine.
be able to ask questions. She didn't get to ask any questions. That's the thing. And, you know, that's his intention from the start, let's face it.
Oh, for sure.
It's only been an hour in this debate. You can't tell me all of that is questions, right? Maybe it is. Holy
I
crap.
mean, granted, this is an older debate, but
Yeah.
it seems kind of like the MDD Q&A section ratio has always been like 50% of the debate or more.
Mhm.
Sometimes quite a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is fun. I like this. I feel as though even if I accepted everything that you said, it still wouldn't have a foundation, because the only foundation I have to go on is that it was revealed to you in a manner in which that it has to be true. And that's essentially just you saying it was revealed to you in a manner in which it was true, which is subject to your own individual perceptions, and perceptions are fallible, including your own, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So why should I trust your perceptions?
I didn't hear a rebuttal. You want to try again?
Oh my goodness. But I'm rude.
What will we
This
do
is
is-
so much
How is that
fun.
rude?
Let's do this every day.
What we will do is, you guys
I
like I
asked you
said,
for a
This is
rebuttal. What you said
fascinating.
we are going to
I
go
asked you
into
for a
the Q&A.
rebuttal, and you did not give me a rebuttal.
We're going to go into the Q&A.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for everybody's questions, and also thanks
Wow.
for the speakers.
Yeah.
We
Anything to avoid answering the question.
Yep. Yep.
Tori's got a bingo.
Yay.
Oh, I need to rebuild my soundboard. So anybody who's been away for a minute, my computer completely died a few months back. I've been rebuilding my OBS and my boards and such. I haven't gotten my soundboard yet, but I want my cheering noise. The yay sound
Oh,
effect.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a soundboard. I have to cheer myself.
We have to do all the work.
I just appreciate them for being here. They're getting in the hot seat, and so we appreciate them, and especially them staying up so late for this debate. So
Yeah, it is late.
next up, so we'll try to fly through as many of these questions as we can. We appreciate all of your questions. Brian Stevens, thanks for yours. He said, what reason does Darth give for an unconditional, non-dependent entity being a metaphysical necessity?
Okay, so yeah, we're just going direct into the Q&A.
Yeah, straight into the Q&A.
That's not normally how it goes, I don't think. Anyway, we normally skip the Q&A, but it's still fairly early in the night, so let's do a poll, because people love polls. And we will ask. Oh,
Hey, I
put
like
the
polls.
question
Come
down here.
on.
Yeah, everybody loves polls. Explore Q and oh, my fingers are so fucking big. A or nah. And we'll go with yes or no. And because we can't have false dichotomies, we'll include our traditional third option. And we'll get that going. Meanwhile, I see some people have popped up, or at least one people. A weasel. Hello. Mark does a decent espresso machine.
I too, yeah. No, I don't actually own an espresso machine. It's one of those things. I'm looking into air fryers at the moment because one of my chat members suggested an air fryer. So I'm looking into that at the moment. But I don't know. I mean, I like going out to coffee shops for a coffee. Like if I'm going to have a proper coffee, I think, you know, I don't know. I don't think that I'd really enjoy like a proper coffee at home. I think I really like going out to a coffee shop for them. So, you know, just to, you know, the ambience and sitting there with people talking and, you know, do you know one of the greatest failures of marketing was Starbucks in Australia?
Really?
Yeah. They tried to move into Australia and introduce, like, their entire plan. They didn't really research, and they thought they would introduce coffee culture to Australians who they assumed had no idea what it is.
You
But what
primitive savages.
to these primitives, we're a, you know, East Coast coffee, you know, with all the culture. We'll introduce these primitive savages to coffee culture and, you know, conversations in coffee shops and things like that, because we're Starbucks. What they didn't actually research was that Australia had a large influx of people from European countries, especially Greece and Italy. So, you know, and we had some French people, you know, there's a lot of Europeans here. So they didn't actually research it, went in, promoted this, you know, Starbucks for coffee culture, didn't realize there was one already very well established, and, you know, people weren't going to pay a lot of money for coffee that wasn't even as good as the European coffee they were already drinking. So, you know, it was a massive failure. It's basically when I was doing, I did a unit that was engineering management. Basically, when you're promoting business or promoting services, do research, and that was held up as one of the examples of not doing your research on stuff, you know. I subsist on a diet of pure mercury. I told you to stop eating those thermometers, Caps. Come on. Nom, nom, nom. This is what happens when you let the weasels get at your thermometers.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. It's only been 3 minutes apparently, but we've got 21 votes, and it's pretty decisive. So we'll call the poll, and the winner, of course, was Tapioca Weasel, 52%.
But that doesn't tell us whether we should keep going or not. That's
but
the problem.
Number 2 choice with 47% was yes, and 0 votes for no. So I'm going to call that a positive result.
Do we leave it up to Tapioca Weasel if they're the winner? Is that what we do? I don't know how your poll works. I'm scared.
You actually ate a thermometer? You know, okay.
It's best not to ask questions.
What reason do I give? Well, the only reason that could be given is that ultimacy, that metaphysical absolute, would have to be personal, rational, and reveal itself, and including having other properties and attributes such as the Christian God, being omniscient, omnipotent, and always truth revealed.
Why would it have to be rational? Like, why would it have to be rational?
Right? Is it subject to laws that it has to obey?
Well, I think that they sort of, so they're in a weird position because they're sort of like, well, a god is, you know, omnipotent, but still bound by logic. It still has to be logical. Because it's too easy to say. If something is illogical, right? If something violates any of the laws of logic, it's too easy to say, well, it can't exist because it's illogical. So they're kind of stuck in this position of saying, hey, it's completely logical and, you know, subject to logic. Grind your own bear. Is that grinding up bears, or is that grinding on bears? I don't.
I'm having trouble breathing.
I'm pretty sure he meant beans. I'm pretty sure he meant beans.
There's a comment that clarifies later.
Stupid auto carrot.
Oh boy.
That basic property set along with others, there would be no way of knowing, attaining, or even accounting for anything would be ultimate. And one would simply be left in a position that contingency is ultimate. And therefore you wouldn't be able to have intelligibility for any facts whatsoever if contingency is ultimate, rather than identifying and accounting for that which is ultimate that provides for contingency.
Thank you very much. Next up, try to cruise through these.
Okay. Just unpacking that. So, yeah, that's sort of one way to think about things. That there is these universals and ultimates and all of these things. Me personally, I'm a nominalist, which means that I think that we give these things labels on how to describe them. They're descriptive terms. So when you're sort of saying something's a universal, you're sort of saying, hey, that's what we've seen for everything, right? So if you know, it's just these universal labels. They don't have to have this alternate existence. It's just a word that we're using to describe something consistent about the universe. I don't think, you know, he's sort of saying, hey, there's got to be an ultimate. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it gets thrown around a lot like the Deepak Chopra
Right.
types like to attach quantum to everything because it
Yeah.
makes their assertions more true.
Yeah.
Or not, because quantum stuff tends to be in superposition. But never mind that. We've never observed a Deepak Chopra being correct.
Mm.
We've never, you know, observed what the fuck do you mean by ultimate? It's just, it's almost word salad because it's just
Yep.
it's just dressing on top of the words.
Yep.
Or super chat, they said, DD, when will you do a Bible study with Kent Hovind?
A Bible study. I'm not friends with Kent Hovind.
Gotcha.
I know of him, but I'm not friends with him.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I don't
DZ,
think
thanks for joining us.
Darth has friends. I think he has sycophants and followers. I don't think he has friends. Friends would suggest some level of equality that I'm not even sure that he's capable of.
Yeah, that's true. To have friends, you have to like have at least some level of give and take.
Yeah.
Darth, not in his vocabulary.
Yeah, I think they call them minions. He has minions, basically people that he orders round, kind of thing, and tells them what to do, which is kind of sad. I mean, I remember
Flunkies, henchmen.
well, like, you know, I mean, I used to go into Praise I Am streams and he was there, and even like Praise, he would just order him round. He was supposed to sort of be kind of moderating, and even Praise couldn't say, hey, you're being, you know, reasonable, kind of thing. He's like, Darth, you've got to give him time to answer, kind of thing. And Darth turned on Praise and he's like, look, you're here to, you know, he really is a, well, if you don't do what I say, you know, get lost, kind of thing. It's really like his idea of what I don't even know if he thinks he has friends. I have no idea. It's I think that his idea of a friend is somebody that does what you tell him to, which is just wild.
Yeah, that's no good. Titan Uranus says, I have spies. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'd say you have friends also. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel points out that he has cultists, which is true.
Don't
I
we
happen
all?
to be one.
Yeah.
Even though I have to work really early on most Mondays, so I can't stay up late for BSS. But I'm still a cultist, and you can be too, on the Bad Sign Sunday show on Maya Atkinson's channel. 9:30 Eastern Time, Sundays. Yes. So tomorrow night. Yeah.
You never saw Darth at
Expert.
Praise? Yeah, he was in there until he got angry with Praise. Like, he just got angry that Praise wasn't doing what he wanted. And he was really abusive to him. Not that I've got a lot of, sympathy for Praise, but, you know, he's really abusive to people.
Mm-hmm. I never really spent any time at Praises because it's just so fucking toxic, and what passes for
It always was,
intellectualism
yeah.
over there is just I'm like, there's not really
Yeah.
anything of value here.
I used to go there for room rumbles, but I think sort of Praise is, I mean, he's always been toxic, but his sort of, you know, saying he would debate and then taking it back, and, you know, just horrible. He's just an awful person. Oh wow, Hecklick coming through. Oh wow, you gave my wife a Embership. Thank you so much, Hecklick.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 5 Emberships, thank you so much. And those went to Richard Taylor, Hell's Bells. Helen, haven't seen you over here in a minute. She's been busy doing her own show, which she put on the same day and time as.
Oh look, I never hold it against people when
no, I know.
things are just
Sarah Quell, Deviant Outcast, and Wim Sweden. Enjoy all the fun custom emojis. You too can have custom emojis, plus other benefits depending on which level of membership you choose. But yeah, and they're goodies. They're fun. There's other benefits. Enjoy. And thank you, Hecklick. Yay. I'm super good at promotion and pitching and things. I got most of that out of the way early in the show. I just yeah.
Hecklick sounds like a you know, God from Samaria kind of thing. There was Magog and Hecklick. Sorry,
I was thinking Hadid, but it does kind of have the same structure to it. Yeah. You are. Thank you, tons. I are what now? What did I do? I've lost track of what I'm doing already.
The thing.
I did do the thing. Oh shit. I forgot I was going to I've been feeling ill much of this week. And so I was not feeling good about myself, as happens when you're feeling ill. But I went and I found I needed a hanger. So I went and took one of my old boy clothes things off of its hanger and rearranged stuff to free up a hanger. And net result, I grabbed this vest, right? And this is a vest from before I even started weight loss. And it, you know, vest is gender neutral, I suppose. I could still wear it if it fit, but it doesn't. And so I just want to, I'm buttoning the buttons while I do the thing. Now I'll make myself big real quick here for a second to show as much as I can with my headphones in how much extra room there is here. This thing used to be tight, and now it's like I could fit a dog in there with me, you know, or a child or something. And that makes me feel a little bit good, because everything else notwithstanding, I am so much fucking smaller than I used to be. And that's, you know, shit getting accomplished. So that's why I had this vest back here, and you reminded me of it because of the tons, because I am no longer tons. Oh, goodness. So yeah, a tangent, but, you know, it was the thing I planned to do and I just forgot.
James is looking hot from B. Arthur. That's thanks for that.
That guy.
That. Nasty guy.
From
Look out for him, folks.
Nasty.
I'm sorry,
The
Wilson.
Golden
Thanks for your
Girl?
super chat. He said, "How much for James?"
Yeah, what's wrong with B. Arthur? Oh, a member of the Weasel Cult. Yes, I am a member of the Weasel Cult. So yeah, and thanks, folks. I appreciate the good fours and things. I mean, you know, I've been doing a lot of things at once. As y'all know, I quit smoking regular cigarettes. I haven't quite gotten rid of these damn things yet. I'm still working on it, but I haven't had a cigarette in over a year. I'm down over 140 pounds, and I'm much prettier than I ever was before. So,
well done.
Yay. Progress.
James to moderate shirtless. Oh, come on. What is with you
Don't.
guys?
No.
Man,
I will never.
All of you sickos. All right. Thanks for your super chat. Let's see. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for that. And then Duke Bonanza, thanks for your super chat. They said,
I love Duke. Hi, Duke.
They said, is the soul created at conception, or does it pre-exist the body? If it's the former, what's the link to physical procreation? I think that's
that question's not answered in Scripture. You'll have to repent and become a Christian. Turn to Jesus Christ.
Oh, now it's just Scripture. I see.
That question is not answered in Scripture, so I can't give you an answer.
So it's not revealed, apparently?
Yeah, apparently so.
Christ, and when you get to heaven, God will be able to answer that question.
Gotcha. Thanks very much. Next up, appreciate your super chat, Lukewarm Lettuce. They said, DA's description of the soul has me picturing scenes from Alien at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Gotcha. Citrafredo Sarabia, thanks for your super chat as well. He said, at two psychologist students here, is there not belief in consciousness or mind that can't be measured by science, but is real? If you can't measure it yet, I believes in it in psychology. He's soul exempt. Shannon,
I don't
that must be
understand.
for you.
I don't,
I didn't
don't
understand any of
I
that.
don't understand what that says.
Yeah.
Like the mind body problem, like the hard problem of
Oh.
consciousness is that what they're talking about?
They said if you can't measure it, yet one believes in it, why is a soul exempt? Okay, so I screwed it up the first time. Sorry about that. So it said,
James, get it together.
it said, is there not belief in consciousness or mind that can't be measured by science but is, quote, real? If you can't measure it yet, one believes in it,
If you can't measure it yet, one believes in it.
why is the soul exempt?
Why is the soul exempt? I'm still not certain I understand the question.
So why is there not belief in it?
I read that, and James did kind of mangle it, but I read that as saying there are things that we can demonstrate do exist, but we can't
Yeah.
prove, like consciousness.
Right.
If
yeah.
we can believe in consciousness, why don't we believe in the soul?
Right.
At
Well,
least that's my take on it.
I mean, so consciousness, I don't think is one thing. I don't think it's sort of, I think it's basically like traffic. Like it's sort of a amalgamation of a whole bunch of different processes doing a whole bunch of different things, and we sort of call the net result the emergent function, a consciousness. But I don't think it's like, why not believe in a soul? Because I've got experience with consciousness. I don't have any experience with a soul, right? Like if you want to say that consciousness is the soul, then okay, have at it. But, the idea that it survives beyond your body and it's something more than what your brain is doing, you have to show that. At the moment, we call, even though we don't fully understand it, we call the thinking process and the ability to reflect and self-reference consciousness. It's just a word to describe it. I don't think we, understand it completely, but I'm familiar with that. Like, I do it myself. Other people appear to be conscious. They do have thought processes, bring up things that reference the things I've been saying, and they appear to be self-aware. I don't know why I would like. Are you saying we've got no evidence of consciousness? I would find that hard to sort of agree with.
Yeah, like we can test for it. Physicians have exams that they can do to determine if you are conscious or unconscious. Like,
well, that's a slightly different. But as far as consciousness, we can test animals by putting a mark on them and seeing if they can recognize the mark on themselves. They are self-aware. Like animals, most animals are sentient, but not all of them rise to consciousness, like being aware of yourself and your environment.
Well, there's some environmental awareness. There's whole different levels. I mean, first of all,
maybe I got that the opposite way round, like sentience is being aware. Yeah.
Yeah, there's sentience and sapience, but I mean, like, when we set up these kind of scales, we tend to put ourselves at the peak as if our level of awareness is as good as it gets. No, it's as good as we have observed and measured so far, but that doesn't mean it's the maximum possible potential. In fact, it's pretty likely that on the greater spectrum of what's possible, we're still kind of low down there.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I think Neil deGrasse Tyson put it really well. He sort of said, well, if you've got, a 1.3% difference in genome between, say, a chimpanzee and a human, and we can do things sort of like build rockets and things in that 1.3%. Imagine what 1.3% higher than us can do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're that fantastic at all. But also, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like the human brain is the peak of intelligence, but what's telling us that?
Mm-hmm.
A human brain.
Exactly. It's pure mythology, and mythologies always put the creator of the mythology as the chosen special organism that needs to exist for destiny reasons.
Right.
It's there's a lot to that. Before I get too far off track by going back on track, Dr. Tapioca Weasel also gifted an Embership. Thank you so much, Dr.
Hit
T.
Al too.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super. I actually did not realize Al did not have a membership. It's been a minute. But hey, welcome back to the fam, and enjoy all the fun emojis and all the other perks and things. There actually is, I should have said earlier, there is a shit ton of exclusive content for members to access, and I'm constantly posting more. Every time I do produce a new video, members get it first for at least a week, and some stuff stays members only. So yeah, there's so many perks. Become a member. Join the members. Yes. And if you do, we get to add more emojis later, and the members get to vote on the new emojis too. So yeah. Okay, I did a little bit better with the pitching that time, but thank you, Dr. T.
Oh, are they saying if consciousness is something that exists, like they are talking about like the hard problem, like consciousness exists, and like we could talk about this for hours. I love the hard problem. It's like, why does a confluence of atoms like instantiate consciousness, but yet an individual atom isn't conscious, and like an aggregate of chemicals has an emergent property of consciousness, but just the chemicals individually, like if you take one serotonin like molecule out of the brain, it's not going to have consciousness. But if you have all of them there, they have an interaction that elicits consciousness, like the hard problem. So if consciousness gets an exemption for existing, why does the soul not get an exemption as existing? And I think the answer to that might be, to me, that the two are essentially conflated together. So most people, if you believe in a soul, see the soul as consciousness. So it wouldn't get an exemption because they're seen as one and the same. And if you don't see a soul as existing, you just see it as consciousness. So it's not that it gets an exemption, it's that you would have to divorce the soul from consciousness, and which is my problem. Like if the soul is divorced from consciousness, then what is it? How does it interact with us? Is it us? And if it's not us, if we change, but it doesn't, then it isn't us. And what does it matter what we do, and where is that line? Those are so I think that might be the question, maybe. And if I didn't do it justice, I'm sorry.
I think you definitely got it. So I think they
got it somewhere.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, so you can ask the same thing about, like you have a computer system. And sorry, I have an IT background. I think in terms of computer systems all the time. So you've got copper, you've got silicon, you've got, flip-flops, you've got ceramics, you've got all kinds of stuff in there, plastics. Why does that produce something capable of showing on my screen, all this stuff? It's not, I think and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I've solved the hard problem of consciousness. Definitely not. But, in any system that you have, the emergent properties of that system are far beyond what the individual components will give you. Like, I'm really sorry, but that is just the way things work. And it works like that for, the stock market. Like the trends of the stock market are not down to how any individual stock is performing. It is an emergent property of all of it together. And there's tons of things like this. Almost everything works like this, that we don't just say, hey, the particular for that thing is this, therefore the overall system of all these things put together is the same. Nothing works like that.
Yeah, it's emergent properties, composite properties. That leads us into the composition division fallacy, which, Shannon sort of explained there. There's no specific thing that has the properties of the whole. Things often are more than the sum of their parts. It's why we have that phrase. But if you can't define the thing you're trying to investigate, if you can't describe what it is or how it might be found, like, our computer systems, we can see it produces an effect. You can see this on your phone or computer screen or whatever. This video is visible. So the composite system is having a measurable, demonstrable effect. When we talk about a soul, what the fuck do we mean?
Right.
Because if we don't even know what we mean, then how could we possibly show it?
Yes. And how does it relate to the body? Like, you have this dualism thing, right? You have the body and the brain, and then you have the soul. But we can't, like, we can say, hey, if you change these parts of the body, your consciousness changes. Like, you can knock somebody out by simply, impacting them hard enough to bruise the brain, essentially. You'll be knocked out, and people's experience of consciousness will change when you put certain chemicals in your brain. We absolutely know this, right? Like, you will have your consciousness altered to the point where you are not who you are anymore, or you see what is not in front of you. Like, we know we can do this with certain chemicals. So, but like when you're talking about the soul, how do we, like, what should we be looking for? Like, it basically is like, well, you can't see it, you can't interact with it, you can't find it, but we know it's there. How?
That reminds me of an old saying. I forget exactly where it's from. It may even have been Douglas Adams. It was something along the lines of, science is looking for a black cat in a dark room. No, wait, I'm doing it. I'm messing it up already. It's philosophy is looking for a black cat in a dark room. Science is looking for a black cat in a dark room using a flashlight. And religion is looking for a black cat that isn't there in a dark room you can't get into.
Yeah.
I messed it up badly, but...
Yeah, no, but I know what you mean. Like, you know, it's not like we can even begin looking for this thing, because we're basically saying you're not allowed to look for it because you'll never find it with how you're looking. And it's like, well, then how should we look for it? Like, we've got to feel it. How is that even remotely accurate?
Sorcery.
Write in on the YouTube chat. Maybe I would get my questions answered then.
Oh, very sassy. Okay.
If they were about the soul that I brought up, then sure. What if they were about the script you wanted me on?
All right, 1 second.
The topic of the show was atheism and Christianity.
We'll go.
That's broad as hell.
Hold on a second.
I guess you didn't get the memo, did you?
I almost feel bad for James. Almost.
I did it. I only got notification 3 hours ago. I was even going to be here.
We've got a question for Darth. Or for
Yeah,
Duncan.
congratulations.
Thanks
Lucky
for your
you,
super chat. He said,
Shannon.
Duncan,
Lucky
the Bible
you.
states God created man and gave breath to man to become a living soul in Genesis 2:7. How can man be a quote-unquote living soul versus your view in which man has a soul?
Well, that's just the descriptors that God gave to it in Genesis. There's no conflict with those two ideas.
Gotcha. Thanks for your answer. And
Well,
And every time there's a conflict, he's just like, there's no conflict with that thing, or scripture is silent on that. Like, he does not even know the first thing about Christian theology. He really doesn't.
I'm kind of curious if he's actually read the Bible or just,
Yeah.
not even cherry picked himself, but like Googled stuff that supports his argument or whatever. It's just
No, he doesn't. He
infuriating.
never gets into it. Like my discussion only went briefly onto the Trinity once, and he wanted to avoid it. Like he did not want to. He really avoids it all the time and avoids Christianity in general. That's the most you'll get out of him. The scripture is silent on that. So the question should become, if he says the scripture is silent on it, it's like, then how do you know?
Yeah. It's just, and
Yeah.
for anybody who hasn't bothered to read the Bible, it is pretty clear, like right there in Genesis, the soul is described as being alive versus being not alive. And it's the spirit is the breath of life, the ability to breathe, the intake, the gas exchange function, all that stuff, which is why for a very long time, even into the modern era, there was discussion as to whether plants even qualified as being alive since they don't breathe, and that was the working definition of life. Like they're just things. They don't breathe, they grow, they reproduce, but they don't breathe, so they're not really alive. It's fucking nuts. So yeah, that's Bible for you.
And that question next up. Oh, Flamio, thanks for your question in Super Chat. They said, Shannon, what's the difference between a mind and a soul?
I think I kind of answered that in the last one. Is that I think that the two get conflated, and ultimately, like if you don't believe in a soul, you just see consciousness as the same thing, and many other people label consciousness as the soul. And if you're not labeling them the same, then that's where the interesting questions come in. Like that's where I have problems. So I really don't know what the difference is, and no one's had good answers for me that helps me to reconcile what the answer might be.
Your worldview has no answers for anything.
Gotcha.
Yes, you're right. My worldview is incoherent, and that's why.
Well, what is your worldview, Shannon?
Oh, I'd like cheesecake. I don't know.
Next,
What is it?
What is your worldview?
Oh, where's
I'd
Titan?
like cheesecake.
He was waiting for it. Oh, goodness. In fairness, that's a pretty good worldview.
Hey, that's a worldview I can get behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dr. T, you are absolutely objectively correct, and I do mean objectively correct. As a photographer who understands lighting and how light can affect the perception of color on objects, that dress absolutely was white and gold. And Jason, technically
No.
correct that the half the population is dumber than goldfish. And Luke is correct in that I also
Why not? It
want
was
cheesecake
blue and
now.
black. I can't believe we're doing this argument again. It was 100% blue and black. You people are insane.
Al says the dress was both black and blue. I guess black and blue and white and gold until looked at. It was a quantum dress that wasn't nearly as entangled as her brassiere.
Okay. Well, that's just rude, yo. Yeah, so basically we're talking about what qualia is, and qualia is sort of your personal experience. Now, the whole point with qualia is that you can't really fully describe your qualia to other people. You can find similarities with other people's, but you can't really describe it. It's sort of qualia as opposed to phenomena, where phenomena we're talking about the effects of things, and qualia we're talking about our personal perspective.
Yeah, it's experienciness.
Did you get that? Because I saw it as blue and black, and my wife saw it as white and gold, and that was freaky to us, absolutely freaky.
It's pretty interesting, the different effects.
Yeah,
and that was the
yeah.
point, was to look at the different effects. And I think somebody did a study and found that more women saw white and gold and more men saw blue and black.
Correct.
And that's interesting because maybe it's just me being in this weird intersex position where I'm at, but it seemed to me that there's that instinctive tendency. You see the blue, but you also see that there's a blue sky, so you instinctively filter out the blue and realize it's just that color because of the sky, because it's in the shadow, so it's not getting direct sunlight, it's only getting blue light. So you account for that and realize it is intrinsically in and of itself white and gold, whereas a male perspective, and I'm just spitballing here, I could be way off base, but a male perspective is more practical and direct and says, I'm receiving blue light from this thing, therefore it is blue.
Right.
So just my speculation.
But what I love about it is the studies that it produced on how the brain works to filter information about lighting to us. That's what I like. Like, it actually caused multiple papers to be published on how the brain actually interprets light. That's what I loved about it. Like, that it actually led to scientific studies. Amazing. Like that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of meme and viral thing I can get behind, that leads to us discovering things about, our own perceptions and, scientific discoveries about this. Incredible. Really cool.
The actual answer doesn't matter nearly so much as the cool shit we learned about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yay.
Just try to get through as many questions.
For the intelligibility of facts. Do you have an answer to that question, Shannon?
Through as many questions as we can. Speed of Sound, thanks for your super chat. They said, question for Darth. When did he quit beating? And this is, I think they're trying to get at the idea that a question can be like a complex question where it has information embedded in it that the recipient would not grant. So they say, question for Darth, when did he quit beating his wife? And so I think that they're trying to argue or suggest, Darth, that you would use questions.
I wasn't going to say that on the stream because I don't know about demonetization, but that's the famous one that they bring up. When did you stop, hitting your wife, basically? That's the famous example, because there's no way you can answer that question without implicating yourself in it. And that's a really good example of a loaded question.
That's why we have plead the fifth. No, that's not why we have plead the fifth. I'm just being silly.
Had information embedded in them that the recipient would not grant.
Well, I didn't hear any objections from Shannon. All I heard was double talk, psychoanalysis, psychobabble, and filibustering. So she didn't object that there was some unstated premises or supremacy.
Like, this is what I got accused of by Jim Bob. You're filibustering. Oh, you mean answering the question in a complex way without just a yes and no? That's their idea of filibustering. It's insane. It's like, you're not actually interested in the answer. You're interested in the gotcha. That's what you're interested in. So any attempt to actually provide a nuanced and, you know, a good answer, a complex and effective answer is said, oh, you're filibustering. Come on now. What are you talking about?
You know, filibuster would be a pretty cool channel name. Filibuster,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, just throwing it out there.
You know what? I thought of the greatest channel name ever. Like it was like Symposium, but with an S-I-M-P. I thought that was awesome.
No!
I know. You know, a chat panel. Like, it's best name ever. You're welcome, world.
That were otherwise objectionable. All I got was nonstop laughing, giggling, smiling, and evasiveness.
Darth wins, I lose because I didn't follow the script. So I automatically lose.
The issue is
If I don't follow the script, I lose. If I do follow the
I
script.
asked you a legitimate question about your
And I answered all of them as best as they could be understood when they were coherent.
Talking me, carrying on giggling and laughing like a schoolgirl does not make you look good. Okay?
I don't look good. That's fine.
Your performance here tonight was a train wreck.
Let's go to the next
You
question.
win.
Yeah.
Just
So this is
things.
yeah, and the chest beating. Like when anybody's ever done badly in a debate, you just see this all the time. Oh, I crushed you. I destroyed you. And it's like, dude, are you trying to convince me or you? Like, this is the thing. Like, the funniest one is Nadir. He is hilarious because he'll go into the comments and argue with people about how he crushed them. And nobody thinks he's trying to convince other people. He's trying to convince himself because he feels like he hasn't done the best. And that kind of insecurity, you have to like go on this big, you know, I'll just convince everybody I've done really well. Nothing shows weakness like trying to convince people how good you are.
Oh, for sure. A lion doesn't have to tell you that he's a lion, as the saying goes. Dr. Tapioca Weasel has a question for us. If you went on MDD and decide, first of all, bold of you to assume that's ever. If you went on MDD and decided to just sit in silence for your entire opening statement time, how long would James tolerate that?
I don't think he would. Maybe like, you know, a couple of minutes. I don't know. He'd probably, you know, say, are you having sound problems or something? And what are you supposed to do then? I don't know. That's a weird question, but probably not as long as you'd think, because, you know, you've got to understand that James is doing an entertainment program first and foremost. So if the audience isn't entertained, then, you know, he really will try and get it entertaining in some way. Yeah.
I don't know. It depends. First of all, you'd have to have James moderating to properly evaluate the situation. But I think he may ask if you're having sound issues. He may ask if there's a technical difficulty. He may say you appear to be having a technical difficulty and then talk a bit about the next debate con. But he will fill the silence.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd even give it a full minute. He might. It's hard to say.
Joseph Palmer, thanks for your super chat. James, this is one of your best. It's definitely one of the debaters' best. We give all credit to the debaters whenever you enjoy the show. So thanks to the debaters. They're the lifeblood of the channel. And glad you enjoyed it, Joseph. Next, Maynard Saves, thanks for your super chat as well. They said, how do you know your faculties were working properly before your revelation? Or I think they're maybe asking, like, how did you know that your faculties were working before you, let's say, started to read the scripture? Or okay,
I brought that up in the rebuttal. It wasn't a rebuttal.
Yeah, she did.
Your whole performance was a train wreck tonight. You should be really embarrassed.
You should tell me more about why I suck. It's not manipulative or abusive at all.
You're try your psychobabble.
I would rather be fascinated than frustrated, and I would rather be intrigued than angry at mental manipulation.
In your little games you're playing. Now the answer to the question. Repeat the question.
Gotcha. So the
she's playing games. Like, okay. So this is more of the manipulation. And Deviant in the chat pointed it out. You know, like gaslighting. Yeah, basically that's his aim. He wants to convince her that she's done terribly, sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. And it is another manipulation. And Shannon just, I love what she said here. I would rather be fascinated than frustrated. I would rather be curious than angry about it, because he's just getting angrier and angrier that she knows what he's doing. I think that Darth Dawkins considers himself so intelligent and so amazingly grandiose that no one can ever see the moves he's making. And she's just breaking it down easily because he isn't that subtle about what he's doing. Like, he isn't. He's very, very overtly manipulative. He's not fooling anybody.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of Sam Cedar was recently on Piers Morgan. I don't watch Piers Morgan, but lots of people do make clips of some of the interesting things that happen there. And it may have been a Humanist Report I saw this on. It may have been one of the other ones. But basically, this whole panel tried to gotcha the shit out of Sam Cedar with their best unanswerable, nobody can handle my big brain knowledge, and Sam just like effortlessly slapped him back down every time. And
Sam
it's sort of the
Cedar's
same
really
thing.
good. Very, very good, yeah.
He's absolutely top of his class. But it kind of makes me think of like Darth thinks he's Sam Cedar,
right,
in this analogy, but he's actually all the low tier bloviating minions who are effortlessly slapped down by literally everyone.
Yeah. If Darth didn't have his mute button, this is how all his conversations would go. But, you know, so Darth, he went into debate, and I was around for this. I was in this chat when this happened. It's like one of my favorite debates because of the way Shannon just handled him, like a you know, Steve Irwin handling a crocodile. They really was, you know, just wrapped him up in a bow and went, yeah, this is you. This is what you're doing. We all understand. Beautiful. But he will never, like, he stopped doing debates and he only hangs out in a place where he has control over the mute button. He can mute anybody he wants because he cannot feel like he's losing again.
Yeah. He's allergic. Oh, goodness. Dr. T says, no, I mean, just make it obvious that you're choosing to exercise your reserved opening time, not on anything hateful or otherwise objectionable, but on the sublime nonverbal tones of my sultry gaze.
My position is so strong, I don't even have to defend it.
That's high quality programming right there.
I cede the rest of my time. I rest my case. Yeah.
We can all just agree, I win.
Yeah. But we
that's
already
sort of
know
what Darth does anyway.
I won before the debate started, so I don't actually have to defend my position.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, that was my attempt at sultry. It probably did not work, but
that's fine.
You know, I mean, I've been in theater since I was little, and I've been, you know, in improv groups and so forth, and like I have no problem with making myself look the fool for laughs.
I don't think I can do sultry. I think the closest I can get is constipated. You know, like I don't think that.
Oh, goodness.
Maynard says, they said, how did you know that your faculties, your cognitive faculties?
Right.
Gotcha.
The answer to the question is that God's revelation is broader than people simply conceive of. They're focusing on special revelation. God's revelation entails his revelatory actions. That's how he has constructed the entire world to operate and how he's constructed man to live and breathe, think, and talk, including man's foundational mental states and our basic reliability of sense perception. Okay? So God's revelation. Yeah, when I want you to answer for me, I'll let you know.
Hold on. That's all right, Darth. If we can stick to that. I got it.
Well, she has a habit of cutting me off. The reason how I can know anything at all.
She has a habit of cutting you off. She has a... Wow. So he's not answering the question either. How do you know your senses were correct? And he's gone on to say, hey, there's also general revelation. How do you know your senses are correct for general revelation? You're not answering the question.
No, we can't do that. That would you know, provide something that could be examined. Holy shit.
including my foundational mental states.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, appreciate
That's
your...
so crazy though, because that's saying the reason that I can know that God's revelatory states are true is because I'm capable of knowing his revelatory states are true. All of that appeals back to your perception, which is fallible, which was my point. So you're essentially saying my perceptions are infallible because I know they're infallible because God told me they're infallible.
That's not what
and the reason I know that is because
you botched it. You totally
I did. You're right. I suck. I'm sorry. I'm so bad.
So if you're going to talk about fallibility, then how can you trust that you have correctly processed through your perception? So you've just screwed yourself.
Oh, you can't. Your perception's garbage. Like I wanted to talk about visual perception. It's crap.
There's no way. Then how do you know you have a correct assessment of anything that I've said?
You really like I don't. Like I'm not even certain that I have an auditory perception that's no, but it's just about perception. Like if you look at visual perception, everything you see is upside down, backwards, and full of holes in your brain.
You don't have a conversation with somebody. You're a smiling.
We're going to jump into the question.
I just don't like mental manipulators.
Okay. So she's actually interested in the conversation about perceptions because perceptions, we know they can be false. Our perceptions can be very easily tricked. Like, you know, optical illusions. You can absolutely screw with people using optical illusions. That's just a thing. There's other ways. We have to have a better methodology than just look at the trees. And if you think they're made by God, they're made by God. You know, like he is just trying to set it up as he knows his perceptions are right because he already thinks they come from a God that can't lie to him. That does not explain why you perceive things so frigging badly.
It kind of runs against that, in fact.
Yep.
Like, I'll skip the tangent on that one for this time.
Okay. Well, I mean,
limited tolerance
okay, you guys,
for mental manipulators.
Hold on a second. Okay, the question was, Joseph Palmer, thanks for your question. They said, because Shannon can float over his silliness. You can respond to that if you'd like, Duncan. You don't have to.
Well, she's been entirely.
No, I meant the super chat. not
okay.
to the super. I don't know if you read the message. I just read the question.
No, I'm not looking at it right now.
I just psycho level.
I read it. They said, all right, I'll go to the next one. Thanks for that, Joseph.
Yeah. So this is hilarious because, you know, this is brilliant because she is just acknowledging everything. Yeah. I'm total garbage. I'm a silly girl. I'm all of this. It takes the wind out of his sails because he wants to leverage this into, well, you're this horrible person and you're mistreating me. And she's like, yeah, I'm just a silly girl. I'm all of these things. And like these comments are designed to make her angry and she doesn't believe him. And they're not affecting her at all.
Yeah.
Like that's what's really upsetting him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bullies hate it when you're not bothered by their bullying. They're just, whatever.
Yeah. And it's just sliding off her back. I mean, she knows that this person is manipulative. She can discount everything that he's got to say about her because he is so overtly manipulative.
Yeah, pretty obviously.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like everyone can see what you're doing, Darth. Like, no one is surprised. And getting defensive for being called out for doing the thing you're obviously doing. Hey, Darth, you're breathing. It doesn't bother me that you're breathing. I can see you doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Freaking wild.
Well, I just want to sort of show it as somebody with self-confidence and someone with no self-confidence. Because Shannon's that confident that she can say, yeah, I'm a silly little girl. I'm completely wrong. I'm all of these things. You know, whatever you say, sure, Darth. And it doesn't change her perspective upon herself because she knows who she is, right? She knows her capabilities. She's confident in knowing herself. But Darth, he is so insecure that he's got to try to convince her that he is a great debater and all, you know, just smashed her and all this stuff. Right? She doesn't care. She knows who she is. What Darth says doesn't change it. She can just say, yeah, sure, whatever, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it doesn't worry her, but it does Darth that she's not believing him. What a place to be in.
She's not impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've sneakily scheduled the bonus stream because we met the goal. And it's tentatively scheduled for Monday evening. My work schedule's weird, so it may move. So, if you want to make sure you catch it, you could subscribe and ring the bell, or after the stream is over, I've pinned it to the top, you can click through and hit notify me. And then you'll get a notification when it's half hour before and another one when it actually goes live, in case it does have to move. And it may go either way. If I have to start super early on Tuesday, I may do it earlier on Monday. I don't know for sure, but that's a tentative spot that I am fairly confident I might be able to make. So we'll put it there for now. So yay. Just so y'all know, it's scheduled-ish.
Or super chat, they said Shannon Q is peak. Miss me with that BS and love it. I don't understand that, but it sounds like a fan. I don't know.
I understand that.
Thanks for going.
She's like, Peak, miss me with that bullshit. Like, I don't even care about it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. Uh-huh.
For chat, they said, Duncan, what evidence can you provide others are wrong in their God? Why is a blue Krishna on Earth myth versus Jesus identifying God as God? Identifying God as why is it that Krishna is false, but Jesus is real?
Well, first of all, Krishna is only a manifestation of a Brahman. In Hinduism, all is God, one is all is one. Hinduism is incoherent because the ultimacy of reality is in its oneness. Therefore, any distinctions are an illusion. Therefore, you can't make any distinctions in Hinduism. Excuse me. How do I know all these other religions are wrong? Because human intelligibility is going to require an ultimate framework. The ultimacy of reality is going to have to possess the property set that only belongs and is instantiated in the Christian God, including his omniscience, his omnipotence, his always truth revealing, and his plan of history, and his salvific plan, including his triune nature. Deny one or more of the triune God's essential properties, and you will not have ontological grounds for human intelligibility.
But hold on.
Wow, that was a bunch of crap.
Right, and because Brahman is everything, he has omnipotence, omniscience, omnibenevolence, like he has all of those traits, and the omnibenevolence one is a problem. So he also has all evil as well. He's everything. So none of that little spiel about the Christian God is the only one is not true. Like, you can ascribe these traits to a Hindu, the Hindu god Brahman, who is everything.
Yeah, and additionally, all this nonsense, everything else he said applies to any monotheistic god, or even the head of a pantheon like Odin, who, according to Norse mythology, made the world, or Marduk, who made the world before Yahweh did in a very copy-paste sort of way, but never mind all that. Adding in the Trinity to this list of properties that any monotheistic god, including the Jewish version of Yahweh or the Muslim version, Allah, whatever, that doesn't prove your God, and that's just granting all those claims are true, which they aren't, demonstrably, but then adding in the Trinity, this incoherent concept that definitely violates all three laws of logic. Wow. That's like blown transistor level batshit.
Yep.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your super chat from Mothra J Disco says, trans rights are human rights. We appreciate you being here, Mothra. And if you are trans, we're glad you're here. We hope you feel welcome. Florida man.
Wow. I love that on so many levels. First of all, because obviously trans rights, but also Shannon's reaction. I know she's an ally, but just being excited for it. Great. The fact that James affirming it, that's a thing you won't see on MDD these days. Just straight out saying, it's so wild. It's so wild. But also, best of all, not even giving Gary an option to have an opinion. Like, no one asked you, Gary. Fucking love it.
This isn't psychobabble, not even close, dude.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's psychobabble on full display.
Gotcha. Next
She
up.
couldn't answer the question, so she has to go to psychoanalysis.
Next up.
I didn't answer the questions, but I can do both.
You were almost entirely.
The psychoanalysis sucks, but I'm not a Freudian. I'm not a big fan of Freudian
Would you say
analytics.
that loosely, not
So
strictly?
when you say psychoanalytics, you understand that the perspective of psychoanalytics is a specifically Freudian perspective, and I
was using it loosely.
and perceptual
and
cognition
you know I was.
specifically. Well, no, when you use it, but there is really no. It's okay. Sorry, doesn't matter.
We are going to the
Psychoanalysis
next
can be used
question.
formally or loosely, Shannon, and you know that.
Gotcha.
Psychoanalytics
Next
is a
up.
very specific. Okay, that's
You
fine.
guys have true friend chemistry.
So basically,
Michael
she's
Goble,
just
thank you.
pointing out that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and she does, because psychoanalytics is the Freudian psychoanalysis. It's a particular way of looking at sort of things. But yeah, I mean, he's using it loosely. Okay. But I mean, she's just, but to someone else, they would just say, oh, yeah, I'm kind of using it in a colloquial sense. I didn't mean it formally, and not worry about it. He's like, well, no, I've got to be correct. You know, you've got to acknowledge me. Pick me, Shannon Q.
Wait. Oh shit, that's one of the channel emojis. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I just saw people sharing this version of the pride flag.
Yeah, that flag's awesome.
Yes, that I'm like, where did that come from? Because it's so much better than the YouTube default one. It's one of the channel custom emojis. Holy shit.
Yep.
So yeah, you get the better pride flag with membership. It's one of the smallest perks, but it's still a perk. My goodness.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Ember. I forgot my own fucking emojis.
That's
Wow.
okay. I totally understand.
It's been a while since I updated them. And you
Well,
can tell because the little embers in there still have fucking beards.
That's true. That's true. It probably needs to
it
be
really
updated.
needs updating. Yeah. Oh goodness. I want to detour back real quick to something Kamikaze said. Yeah, all the religions, the gods saying they made up the world like I'm Batman. Tangentially related to that, Darth is saying that all the other religions are made up by humans, but his, which has the same kinds of traits, properties, characteristics, descriptive nature, it's given by revelation. It's indistinguishable from the other religions. His is the real one, is a real one, and is the real one. Okay, Darth. It just, I know all apologists do that, but it drives me fucking batty.
Thanks for your super chat. They said, is Duncan aware that Shannon is a psychologist, so it's not psychobabble, it's actually psychological observations?
It makes no difference to me that she has a degree in psychology. She was still employing a tactic of psychobabble in order to evade my simple and fair questions about her worldview.
I was pointing at
straight. I'm talking, okay?
Yeah, you are.
I would appreciate that you not
I'm
over
talking.
I'm talking, woman. Go make me a sandwich, little girl, with your psychobabble.
No, and it's sort of, you know, I think that it's not psycho, but she's pointing out correctly that what you're doing is manipulative and the reasons why. The fact that she has an expertise in that field and can articulate it very clearly is good. It doesn't mean it's psychobabble.
Mm-hmm.
Time as a diversionary tactic. You're quite rude. Now, I was completely transparent throughout the conversation with her questions toward me about my worldview, how it relates vis-a-vis to the soul or the body. When it came time for me asking questions about her worldview, she then immediately went into her little shtick of psychoanalysis and psychobabble, trying to evade my simple questions about her atheism. Then when I questioned her about her atheism, oh, I'm not an atheist anymore. I'm some kind of a deist.
Gotcha, next.
That's not what I said. No, I want to respond to that. No. I want to respond to that. Actually, I didn't say I'm not. I said colloquially I'm an atheist, but you could easily get me to a deist position, I think, and ultimately philosophically, I think I'm more of a temporal agnostic. And it's what you do is just really fascinating to me. And I did talk over you, and I apologize, but it's because I wanted to get this out, because I feel as though what you do is ultimately lead somebody down a trail. And if they don't follow that trail, you accuse them of being deceptive, or you accuse them of you keep utilizing the word psychobabble instead of addressing what my legitimate concerns were, because you can then dismiss them because you can say that I was being rude. This is more psychobabble. Yes, see that's the thing. Like you can't
get away from your psychoanalysis.
No, you can't get away from the fact that you ultimately have a script that you want to follow, and I wouldn't adhere to the practice of following that script. So because you couldn't lead me in that.
Next up, I've got you both on mute. Sorry about that, but you guys are so excited to talk with each other. I had to for a second. Maynard says, thanks for your super chat. They said, Duncan, how do you prove you aren't a brain in a vat prior to your revelation? So Maynard says,
is my mic open?
Yes, now it is.
Okay. How do I prove anything? Well, we have to start with the triune God and his self-disclosure. If we do not start,
we have to start with it.
Yeah. So I've said this before. Like, if you're going, like you're sort of, you know, you're deconstructing, or you're going back to foundations, essentially metaphysics, right? Metaphysics is about foundations, what exists, what doesn't exist. It's basically about what is and what isn't, essentially. So metaphysics doesn't mean supernatural for a start. It just is metaphysics. It just means foundations and sort of existence, essentially. So if we go back, really where you're starting from is your own mind, because that's at the base level, all you've got access to is your own mind and your own thoughts. So you've got to start there. Presuppers like to say, well, you start with God. No, hold on a second. Hold on. Unless you're God, you can't start with God, right? Because you only have access to your own mind and your own thoughts directly. Everything else is through the senses. Everything else is through other things. So if you're going to start with God, then how did you get from your mind, which is the thing that you have access to a God? You don't get to say, I start over at this thing that isn't me. Because when we really break down absolutely everything, including our senses, including, what we can actually, where do we start? We start from our own thoughts. We start from our own mind. We start from our own consciousness. Right? Like, you can't start with God unless you are a God, or unless you are the God, which I'm sure he's not saying. So how did you get from your thoughts in a vacuum kind of thing to a God? I mean, it's okay if you want to say, hey, I experience him directly. Okay, fine. But, what is that like? Why don't other people have that same experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? There's questions there. But you can't start with something that isn't you.
He thinks that is him. What if he thinks he is the God?
Well, great. Do something that would convince me. Turn water into wine. Fly. Do something that would convince me that you are a God and not just a man with delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, it's but yeah, so okay, there's a couple of different things. The first is I do recall, or don't recall rather, being a baby and trying to make sense of the world around me and thinking, well, first I have to start with God that I have knowledge of somehow.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I distinctly recall people feeling like they have to teach me about God. So clearly we don't start from God. But also, that's begging the question, circular logic, which we also have an emoji for. If you want to play with the fun custom emojis, a lot of them do have a point. They're not just random that people voted on. We've got begging the question, we've got straw man, we've got tapir, which was a fantastic running joke for a long time. All kinds
Good
of
old
goodies.
tapir. Still my favorite emoji on your channel. Still my
They're
favorite.
so cute. I understand their prehensile penis is fucking terrifying, but they're
Yes.
so adorable.
They are. They
Yeah.
are.
And Pragmatic Crystal, thank you so much, PC.
Hey,
Always
PC.
dropping links and things. Yee. Hey, did you know Pragmatic Crystal has a channel? It's true. And there's all kinds of cool stuff over there. Alligators and swamp monsters and
Rivers.
yeah, cruising through the bayou with some good vibes and shit. It's fantastic, especially if you need just like a moment of calm or something. So yeah, if you have not, maybe go check out PC's channel because people forget there is one from time to time. Yeah, swamp puppies. Absolutely.
Apart from that worldview, God and his self-disclosure of himself in natural and special revelation, then we cannot have intelligibility, let alone rationality, cognition, or proof for anything. So one is going to have to choose. One is either going to have to choose and humble themselves under God's self-disclosure, his natural revelation, special revelation, or one is going to have to choose the option of absurdity. Okay, all other worldviews boil down to absurdity because they cannot identify or account what is ultimate. And when they do attempt to identify what is ultimate, they will not have the property set of the Christian God. So
the dude with a actual absurd set of beliefs wants to everything else, but you have to choose mine because everything else is absurd. First of all, no. Second, yours is absurd. So even if I granted your claim, you fall into that set. Just saying though. Just saying.
Point is this: you're going to either have to choose and accept God's self-disclosure, that that's the framework of existence, or you're going to.
If God did self-disclosure, Darth and other apologists wouldn't even have to peel back the curtain if this all-powerful being simply revealed himself the way they say he does.
Yes.
He is known to do. Just show me your fucking God, or better yet, have him show himself. And
Well,
you
that's
could
the
settle that.
presupp position. They kind of go, he's shown himself to everybody in a convincing way, and you know that he exists, yet you're just denying it in order to live in a sinful life. So they are essentially projecting their own worldview onto you and then claiming that you're just lying about your actual beliefs
Could that
because
be
they
projection too? Because
maybe.
they
I mean,
often, not always, but often they actually are lying about their own worldview. And maybe they do know, maybe not the
maybe.
capital T truth, but
Hmm.
the fact that what they're saying is not true. And they're denying that for whatever reason. Maybe they just want to sin because, Christianity does have that added perk of you can sin as much as you like and just say, I'm sorry, daddy, and you're good. But maybe it's for money, maybe it's for attention, maybe it's for loyal sycophants, whatever the case may be. But I suspect that might be projection as well. Just a possibility,
Be left with absurdity, by which proving things would be meaningless and unintelligible.
Gotcha. Next up, really quick, Angry Roach, thanks for your super chat. He said to Shannon, G-Man needs another picture for his green screen.
Stop it.
Gotcha. I don't know what that means. Subtracted, thanks for your super chat. They said, hey, Duncan, if God exists outside of reality, that means he's independent from reality. How does God ground the nature of reality? That seems self-refuting. That's what they're saying.
So, yeah. Left-Handed Jedi sends $2. Thank you so much. And says, God is a grilled cheese-based life form. And there's actually evidence of that because every claimed sighting of a divine being in the last 100 years that I'm aware of, most of them have been in a grilled cheese corporeal form. So, I mean, there's something to that. Alex says, for the last time, it's forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I always keep getting that wrong. I'm sorry, Daddy. Oh, shit. Andrew says, Mark brought up the topic of gray rocking. I can't take the credit. I was just saying I also recently learned about it. Great. Did I miss something? I may have missed something.
Yeah, so we were talking about dealing with narcissists and sort of Jason sort of said they avoid them and ignore them, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd rather not engage with them, but if you sometimes you have to, which is kind of just sort of you may work with one or something like that. And I've heard that I haven't, I try to avoid them myself, but when I do have to engage, Grey Rock is basically this technique where essentially you don't look at them, you don't give them any emotional interaction at all. And it's usually used in cases of manipulators kind of thing to sort of give them no sort of feedback which they can use against you. So it's essentially you don't look at them, you just basically give very short, tense answers without any extrapolation and don't emotionally engage with them at all. And it makes them try and find somebody that will get emotional around them. Basically, they will search out for someone that will, because they want to be able to elicit an emotion and then use that to try and manipulate somebody, kind of thing.
Oh no. Dr. T says, my priest always encourages the spank me daddy I've been naughty version, which is hard to explain because I'm not even Catholic. I came across an interesting statistic earlier today. People in the South have been making noise about banning obscene drag shows and whatnot. As you may be aware, drag shows are banned in Tennessee. It's an obscene display, yada, yada, yada. Got to protect the children. Now, they argue it's because you've got to protect the children. But fun fact, in the last, I forget exactly what it says. It was at least 20 years. It may have been longer. There have been 0 cases of a drag queen doing anything naughty with a child.
Right.
In the last 30 days, there have been 40 cases of preachers doing naughty things with children. So, maybe we're banning the wrong things if the point is to protect children from naughty things that horrible people are doing to them.
And
It's
admittedly, there's a
just-
lot more preachers than there are drag queens, but even on a,
Yeah.
you know, on a ratio basis, it still is overwhelmingly that, you know, the drag queen is not the one to worry about. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robin Webster's here. Hello, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
I just missed you earlier, or you just missed me, depending on which way you want to look at it, on Grayson's show, because I had to go do work and stuff, and you appeared right after. But yay! I'm glad you're here. Native Atheist says, tell your priest about Chris's inflatable altar boys. That is a reference to Chris Mallard over at the damn show, the damn network. I forget what it is at the moment. It's changed a couple of times, and he does a series of funny commercials, which I just, oh my goodness, damn. I may not be able to find it quickly and easily. Yeah, there's another thing called the damn show. Let me try. The damn network. No, I should just search for the Daily Atheist, shouldn't I? The Daily Atheist. And let me see. Okay, it's the damn network, but its handle is at the DAM show.
Mm-hmm.
Which is slightly confusing, but it's fine. It's fine. Now let me see if I can find. Here it is. Let me pull this up and unmute it. That'd be a start. And oh, this is gonna I'm winging it here, but we're gonna do a little promotion for another channel by showing the thing. So, you know, this may be offensive to some viewers.
Chris is going to copyright you. Yeah.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
Is our humble parish tired of constant litigation, drained by bloodthirsty lawyers sucking the collection plates dry? Well, no more threats of jail time and public humiliation. Try Father Flanagan's line of inflatable altar boys. Cute little fellas, eyes and mouth wide with surprise, complete with lifelike tears. Father Flanagan's line of inflatable altar boys coming to a Walmart near you. Your
So
Nice.
he does a bunch of humorous commercials. That's actually a remake of an old one that he used to do.
I like the
kinda-
goat-scented candles. I
goats
really love
are
the goat-scented candles. Are amazing. Can we show that one? I have a sudden urge to watch it. Can we show the goat-scented candles?
Oh, let me see if I can find it. Is that in the shorts? That might be that may be a longer one.
That's
It
a
would-
longer
yeah,
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to go to regular videos.
Just put
There's-
in goat
there's so
in
many
the search
top
bar. Do
10s.
you want me to find it?
Okay. Oh shit, there's two. Right, we want the parody commercial, not the song.
Yep.
Okay. I've got it. Give me a second here. Share this tab, bigify. Volume's on, scrub it back, make sure it's showing. And you know what? This time we'll make it big.
Yay!
Yay!
Have you sinned again? Oh, and it's bad this time.
Bad.
A chicken just won't do. But wait, you don't have a goat for your burnt offering. Oh no, the Lord's wrath is upon you.
Insignificant person whose name I don't know, you have sinned. Probably. I shall smite thee.
What do? You're all out of goats. She left you for another man.
Fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented flesh candles.
No goat? No problem. Just light one of these bad boys and let the sweet, savory scent of burning goat flesh rise up to the heavens.
Is that goat?
It's easy, it's fast, and deluxe models even have patented technology that produces a goat screaming sound as the wick burns.
Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented candles. Save a goat, burn a candle.
Father Flanagan's line of goat-scented flesh candles are part of our You Do You Jew interfaith outreach program.
When you sinned and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. When the Lord requires that pungent smell, Light a candle or you're going to hell.
Oh, I freaking, oh, I love
I
it so
love that.
much. I love it
I
so
love
much.
that part where it goes, "You've sinned." Probably, like, because God doesn't like it's people seem to in the Old Testament they sin, they get away with it. They don't sin, they it's just all up in the air. I loved it. It's so good. Wow,
Yeah,
Chris.
and I gotta say, I love the commercial. They don't ever get old, and I mean, there's so much to suggest itself for the Daily Atheist Morning Show, which runs from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time here in the U.S. Monday through Friday. It's Chris and Durante and Ryan, and they're funny. The commercials are funny, and then there's also Chris's dogs, Ollie, and everybody comes for the dogs and stays for the commercials. It's just a fun fucking show.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's usually on at a time that I can watch, which always makes it way better for me.
That is helpful, yes.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I'm often, virtually always driving and at work when it's on, but it's so cool. Jason, you're absolutely correct. I've mentioned a couple of times. It's interesting how the AIs, they just do random flailing as they're dancing. It's crazy. But I mean, it works. It works. And I've had thoughts about making commercials along those lines before, but I've never actually produced one, and I wish I had stuff like that I could put up as like an intermission and go refill coffee or whatever. It's cool shit. So, not to fangirl too much, but I do enjoy the show quite a lot. So, fuck it, we'll mention it. Probably the best part of this show. I don't know. Alrighty, we are getting close to the 3-hour mark, but there's only 10 minutes left. Do we want to try to finish this off?
Yeah, let's try and finish it off. Let's put a cherry on this thing.
Yeah, read the question again. So I want to make sure I understand them.
You bet. They said if God exists outside of reality, that means he's independent of it. And if he is independent of it, then how does God ground the nature of reality? He says that's self-refuting.
No, he doesn't understand. I wish he was here, and I could ask him some clarifying questions. What does he mean by reality?
Oh, yeah, I bet you would.
The set of all entities that exist. Is he using the word reality as an abstract object?
Okay,
or a concrete object?
okay. So Darth doesn't understand set theory. It's a nominalist thing. It's basically a tag that you're putting on things. So when you're saying the set of all reality, a set isn't a real thing. Like, so if you have a set of all cows, for instance, right? All cows, they fall into this set of what we call a cow, right? It's a set. It's not a real thing. There's no actual thing that is the set of all cows. Like, it doesn't exist. It's just the way we've grouped them. So when you're sort of saying the set of all reality, it would mean that the set not being a real thing would mean he's saying that reality isn't real, which is just so freaking nonsensical. Like, it's just, so the nominalist view is that, hey, reality is whatever exists in the real world and nothing that doesn't exist in the real world. But we might put it into a set, but that doesn't mean the set is a real thing, right? It's just a way of categorization. So it's just a label that we put on it. So no, reality isn't the set of all real things. No, that's a description, not an actuality.
Yeah. It's important to make that distinction because, sets, like all other definitions, are what we choose to call a thing.
Yes.
But we have to be careful not to confuse the map that we've created for the place that is the thing itself.
Yep.
His question is really not that clear. God himself is independent of anything else that is not God, meaning that he does not derive from it, he does not depend upon it, but everything else depends upon God.
Gotcha.
That's a standard biblical definition of God's aseity.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks so much for your super chat, John. They said, literal Bible, Adam from clay, but Eve from a rib.
Now this is old when Sydney Raptor was using his original name still.
Right.
It's been a minute.
I think we got him to change that because there was too many Johns around, as far as I recall.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think oh shit, I don't still have the banner. That's what I get for turning my StreamYard membership up. But I had a banner that scrolled along the bottom, much like this, that said thanks to all our members on Patreon and memberships
Oh,
here.
doesn't it say like John?
John.
Yeah. It was like one episode we had like about 5 or 6 of them, and we're like, that's it. You people have to change them in some way. It was actually quite funny.
Yeah, and he's been Sydney Raptor ever since.
Yeah. We didn't force him to do it. It was just a joke, but he ran with it, and love him for it. It's just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I think
the
they're
old
asking
lore,
if you
folks.
believe in a literal Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Deep
hold to a
cut there.
literal account of Genesis, and if you don't hold to a literal account of Genesis, in my view, you will be denying the Christian worldview. If you deny the Christian worldview, you will have no worldview to actually attest and account for as a foundation for human intelligibility.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, thanks for your super chat from Sickly Gibbo. They said, why would God have personality or emotions when they have no use in the absence of others? Was God predetermined? Oh, okay, yeah, so I think they're saying, like, why have emotions if there's no others that exist? They said, was God predetermined to create life to give the aspects use?
I'll answer no insofar as I understand the question, but God, in the biblical God, the triune God, is one God, one being, one essence, but God is multi-personal. His oneness and his manyness, or his unity and diversity, have equal ultimacy. So we have 3 persons within the Godhead who are co-equal and co-eternal. So the God of the
That
Bible
is
can be
so
personal,
word salad.
sans creation, or logically prior to creation.
Gotcha.
And also does not remotely answer the question.
No, it doesn't. Like, so yeah, I mean, I got into this with him. How can something be one thing and 3 things at the same time? And he's like, well, it's one entity and 3 persons. And it's like, yes, but a person is an entity. They're a subcategory. Like, you have entities, which is anything. And then some things are persons, some things are agents, some things are this, and they fall into that category. So essentially you're saying you have 3 entities that are one entity. And that doesn't make any logical sense. Unless for some reason they don't count as a thing, which is just ridiculous. It's just so I've never been explained it in a coherent way. And you try to use analogy, and they try to use these explanations saying, oh, but you have a body, but you have 4 arms. And it's like, yes, but those are part of my body, right? Which is fine. If you want to say, hey, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are part of the thing that makes God, totally fine, but they're not. Right? He's basically saying that the Father makes up God and all its properties. The Son makes up God and all its properties. And the Holy Ghost does exactly the same, but there's not 3 gods. And they're not part of the one God. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. So their analogies always fail, because when you start to look at them, you're like, that doesn't work. Like, I mean, one was a car that was explained to me. Oh, it's got wheels and it's got an engine, and all 3 of them are the car. But, none of them, they're each the car and it's like, yeah, but an engine isn't a car by itself. It's a part of the car. I don't get how it works. I don't.
I know it violates like all the laws of logic. It's fucking...
4 limbs. I meant limbs, aren't you? I meant limbs. Limbs.
Yeah. Although the fact that you mentioned the distinction, I actually have, it's not a commercial, but I do have a short that if I recall correctly, it addresses this. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I've been bringing the God bots back. So here's this one.
Godbot. Hello. God is unknowable. Accepted. The faithful must know Jesus. Accepted. If you must know one and can't know the other, how can Jesus be God? Spoiled again.
Poor Godbot. Always getting all messed up in things. So I actually recorded like 7 or 8 of those. There's only 3 released because they kind of went
Yeah.
The original Godbots got thousands of views, but I think YouTube has tinkered with the algorithm since then. I don't know.
Well, in fairness, I don't think a bot has been so abused since Wall-E, to be honest with you. I think that
I'm mean to that poor little bot.
no joke. It always ends like fizzing out or exploding or, in some way being catastrophically destroyed by sheer logic. It's just poor bot.
Yeah.
Actually, what am I saying? Like, I'm sitting there going, poor bot, when my favorite sport is robot fighting. I don't know where my priorities are sitting right now. I
know. I'm so... I used to love BattleBots. It was like my favorite fucking thing, and I found it again. I forget. It's okay. So I had to get Netflix for a certain thing that I wanted to watch with my son. We've just kept the Netflix on, so I don't know if it's on Netflix or Prime or YouTube, but somewhere there's BattleBots.
Yeah, it's like, Netflix on over here. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I can't think of what else to watch, usually with my son, because I don't watch shit on my own. I've got too much work to do. But I'll put on BattleBots.
I was watching it before BattleBots. There was Robot Wars in England, which definitely isn't as good as BattleBot. BattleBots, absolutely. Yeah, Robot Wars. Yeah. I am with you, Jason. But BattleBots is way better. I just find the production, the bots are better. Like it's just overall better. As far as I'm concerned.
It's good shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Next up, Maynard Saves. Thanks for your super chat. They said, "Thank you, Shannon." They must have liked your response to the last one.
Welcome.
Gotcha.
I don't know what I did, but you're welcome.
I think that was. Do I remember right? That was they sent the last super chat that you about G-Man and your green screen.
Must be a drag fan too, because that's where. Oh gosh. Oh G-Man.
Gotcha. G-Man may be out there watching. You never know. Next up. Thanks for your super chat. Move of 10. Appreciate it. They said, "DD Partho." Gotta make sure I pronounce this right. Parthenogenetic offspring are always XX, but Jesus clearly identified as a man. How do you reconcile this with your opposition to trans people?
Now, to be clear, parthenogenesis is not always XX. It's
correct.
Lots of species have different chromosomes and shit. Birds are ZW, if I recall correctly. Different things like parthenogenesis just means you're genetically identical to your parent, whatever that means.
Yeah.
How do I reconcile my opposition to trans people? It's very simple. God only created two kinds of humans, male or female. That's it.
Gotcha.
No, that's not even true with intersex. But sex is not the black and white binary that you've been led to believe. Most people fall within ranges for male and female, sure, but it's not always the case.
And
please refer to intersex people. Yeah,
like we're here too. I'm if your God did the thing, but that doesn't even answer the question even within his mythology. First of all, it's wrong. I've done whole videos on Jesus and gender and the genders in the Talmud and all of that stuff. But even if it were true, that still doesn't give him grounds to have a problem with trans people, because a binary trans person who goes from female to male or male to female is still either male or female.
Right.
So what's the issue
But
here?
do you remember the trans argument from Jesus?
That Jesus being the result of
No, it's a different one. It's about the existence of Jesus kind of thing. So the question, that the line of argumentation goes, was Jesus a man before he incorporated on earth or descended to earth, basically, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So if Jesus was a man before he came to earth,
then chromosomes don't matter.
Then gender transcends biology, and therefore it affirms trans people can exist.
I love that. Trans is
transcendent. No, wait. There's more to it.
Oh, good.
If Jesus wasn't a man before he came to earth, so this is the true dichotomy, right? He either was a man before he came to earth or he wasn't, right? If he wasn't a man before he came to earth, then gender can be changed, because if he wasn't a man and then came to earth and was, then gender can be changed, and therefore trans is valid.
Okay.
That is the trans argument from Jesus, and
Love
it is
to see it.
hilarious. Yeah, it's actually quite funny.
Yeah.
Can't remember who I saw that off. Maybe who would it have been? I can't even remember. Somebody ran that one, and I found it hilarious because there's no way out of it. Like, you either have to admit that gender has nothing to do with biology, or you've got to admit that gender can be changed depending on circumstance. That's it. I mean, I don't think it's a real argument. I think it's just there to annoy bigots, basically.
No,
which
definitely.
annoys them to no end.
Yeah, like the tism side of my brain that's very obsessed with definitions and protocols and so forth
Yeah.
is like that doesn't hold up. The whole contention is that we can't change
Yes.
our gender, which is why we need to transition. But
Yep.
is an argument to troll the bad faith assholes?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's okay, don't be upset, Shannon, because in your worldview, you have no basis for science.
I have a basis for compassion, and I have a
Compassion
but
is
like,
an
you know what?
unintelligible concept.
Trans people are legitimate and valid, and we're not.
Where does that ethical imperative derive from?
Next
Shannon?
up, really quick, before we get down a
Move on
a
before I
new-
lose my shit.
a
Go
new
ahead.
road.
Fucking appreciate that, Shannon. Absolutely.
Okay, well,
We
you already
have
have.
Subtracted. Thanks for your question.
No, I haven't.
Subtracted. We appreciate your super chat. He said, "Can you give a coherent definition of God?" I think that'd be for you, Darth.
A coherent definition of God. Well, I'll give a brief definition of God. It can never be exhaustive because only God can know himself exhaustively. But God is an unembodied mind who is eternal without beginning, absolute, unconditionally non-dependent, and the creator and sustainer of all things that begin. In addition to that, he's omnipotent, omniscient, always truth revealing, holy, righteous, just, and so on. I could go on, but that's the briefest definition.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Stupid Horror Energy, as she likes to call herself. She said, Duncan, would you be open to formally debating Jack Angstreich?
The answer is no. Jack is what I consider somebody who has mental and spiritual problems, who's an internet stalker.
You better cut it out right. You better cut it out right now, or I'll pound you.
I hit the wrong button on the soundboard. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, next up. Thanks for yours. super chat.
Okay. So Jack Anstrich is a pretty well-known sort of philosopher. Essentially, he does philosophy and very, very good with his definitions and with everything. And he's run into Darth, and of course, Darth has a massive insecurity with anybody that disagrees with him or won't play along to his script. So everybody that doesn't play along to his script is a stalker or a troll or someone just hassling him. While Jack Anstrich has sort of wiped the floor with him on multiple occasions. So, anybody that he gets, I think after I ran into him, he was calling me a troll and me I'm just, stalking him. Get over yourself, man. Like, seriously, nobody's stalking you. You're just terrible at what you do.
I do have to wonder though, do you prefer being called a stalker or a pig snake?
Probably a pig snake. I don't know. I don't like. Actually, it doesn't really matter either way. I mean, I don't know who has the time for stalking. Quite frankly, I don't know who manages to fit it in. It's just so. Like, it seems so time intensive for very little in reward. Yeah. I don't know. Neither really worries me at all. I guess maybe stalker because it's a bit creepier kind of thing. And it's hard to take seriously when someone calls you a pig snake. It's hard to take seriously. Like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. So, yeah. I've got a dash for just a second. I just got to take a quick bio break, so I apologize. But I will return. Just a sec.
All right. Yeah, I enjoy pig snake. I think Jim Bob might feel like that's a thing that he can say that people can't get offended over because it doesn't actually exist, but it sounds like things that should be offensive. I don't know. Yeah, who has the time for pig snakery? It makes me think of Mr. Anderson's video. He's been away for a while, but he's a Canadian lawyer. He's probably busy doing lawyer things. But he made a whole thing about Jim Bob calling him a pig snake, which is pretty freaking hilarious. While Mark is away, I'll shill for his channel, because promoting other people's channels is a big part of what we do here. Mark, as I'm sure you're aware, enjoys debates and reviewing debates, participating in debates, but also does other stuff. On his Friday, my Thursday, he does a show called Fundamentalist Fails, where he'll look at crazy claims by wingnut apologists and take that nonsense apart. And also on my Tuesdays, he usually does what is it? Aimbot. Am I morally bankrupt or them? Which is everyone's favorite section of Reddit. He goes through, he reads the stories, and makes moral judgments about people. And I'm particularly fond of that show because I harassed him for over a year to get the damn thing going again. And he is. So all that and more, interviews, other goodies can be found over at Mark's channel, which is linked in the description, Mark Reed Atheism. And he has memberships too, by the by, which, you know, include custom emojis and fun stuff, ban hammers and Bigfoot Jesuses and all sorts of fun things. Yeah, I'm hopeful Mr. Anderson is doing well as well. It's been a minute, and I got worried for a bit. I've heard from people that he has appeared in Discord groups and said stuff from time to time somewhat recently, but he just hasn't had time to, like, make videos, which totally relatable. I'm technically there myself. I'm doing it anyway, but I really am working 5 jobs, folks. And every time I try to cut back one, something else happens that causes, like, you know, at the end of January, I had a surprise medical bill. And I'm like, well, shit, I can't quit that 5th job yet. And it's an oof. It's an oof. I'm hoping one of these days I figure out how to make YouTube go, and then I can drop at least 2 of them because they're freelance gig jobs. But you know, we do what we can. So if you want to help with that, if you want to free up more time for Ember to do the YouTubes,
sorry,
you know,
my apologies.
Financial support is great, but also share all the social medias. Tell people we're here. We're here every other week, and on the opposite week, we're on Mark's channel. So yeah.
Do I have time for pig snakery? I don't even know what pig snakery. Like, what does a pig snake do? If it just like relaxes in mud and, you know, then I got time for that. That doesn't sound like a pig snake is particularly busy per day. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Oh,
first you'll have
Jason's
to explain
reminding
what it
me to plug the transpositions, which is a thing that I often forget to do because I do so much other stuff here on YouTube, which is why I have all my links on betterthanember.com. But yeah, I do transpositions. I'm looking. I have an ad for that actually. Somewhere in here. My goodness, where did I put the damn thing? I've got the intro music for Good News and the outro, and I don't know if I still have the actual ad. It may be just the ad version I made for Skeptic Haven. Well, son of a bitch. I suppose I could just load it and play it the other way. But yeah, transpositions, whole other channel. I do the Good News segment, and there's, you know, Breeze over there, Stephanie Helms, Carly Chardonnay Webb, who does sports. We cover all the trans stuff, but I focus on good news because holy shit, we need good news.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do. It's also a standalone show that usually comes out on Mondays, but not always. I'm not in charge of scheduling on that channel. I don't have any control. It's whenever it shows up. But yeah, do go check it out if you haven't, and help that channel because again, I don't have the controls, but it's so fucking important. And we need help spreading the word, getting the watch hours up, all the things over there as well. Native Atheist sends a $20 super chat. Thank you so much.
Ooh.
And
thanks, Native
Ember.
Atheist.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I really love being here and interacting with you guys. I wish I could do it more often. It's just I have to work so damn much, and I'm so tired, folks. I am so tired. Being here actually gives me more energy. You would think watching Darth Dawkins for, 3 hours today and doing it last week, I'd just be like, ugh. But like interacting with you folks, it revives me, So I appreciate y'all coming, joining us in the live chat. If you're watching in the future people, remember, subscribe, ring the bell. Join us next time. We'd love to see you. Okay, I think I've plugged everything I can plug right at the moment.
Okay.
Big deal, Animal. Okay, Speed of Sound, thanks for your super chat. They said, Shannon, you are now the god I believe in. You'll nail this guy tonight. You have a fan out there. And
Oh, hi, Speed of Sound. That's I
That's
wasn't looking to nail
Anthers in
anybody. I'm
Atheism.
just legit.
What now?
That's Anthers in Atheism. Speed
Oh.
of Sound's been around for ages. Answers in Atheism.
Oh, speed on the thing. Yes, yes.
Speed of Sound was the person that super chatted that.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mike. He's been on this channel, in fact, but you can usually catch him doing Saturday Night at the Atheist, both on his channel and at Captive Desks, who was in here earlier. They
Yeah.
simul
Oh,
stream.
was Dave in here? I didn't see
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, they
Oh.
dropped by after the show wrapped. That
Oh,
was
okay,
about the
gotcha.
same time Kentucky Atheist dropped in, because
Yep.
Joe's also often on that show.
Yep.
So yeah, and you're right, Jason. We should have a huge party once transpositions get monetized. We're so close to that partial monetization where you get the custom emojis and shit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be so cool. I don't know what they're gonna be. Again, I don't actually run the channel, but it'll be cool.
Legitimately, the smile was because I enjoy fascinating nuances of dialectics.
I guess he likes train wrecks.
next, okay, you guys are so sassy.
See, like that! Like, that's moderately abusive behavior. It's meant to embed in me that I should be questioning myself because maybe something went wrong or
Abusive behavior because
It's
I categorized your whole debate demeanor as a train wreck. That's
Next up.
abusive.
Oh, no, there's more than that. We could spend
Oh,
a little bit
you're
more
a
time.
snowflake.
One, I did miss one. Hold
Oh,
on.
see, like
Maynard
that!
Chase.
Like, that's so fascinating. Like, it really is.
Gotcha.
Here
Thank
we
you.
go. More with the psychobabble.
Yeah,
Alright, hold on,
psychobabble
just
for
a second.
days.
Excuse me, I have a few more
Oh,
questions if you
there
don't
it is.
mind.
A few more questions. Maynard Zays, thanks for your super chat. They said, Darth, explain how the Trinity is coherent.
The Trinity is coherent because God reveals to us that his oneness and his manyness, his unity and diversity have equal ultimacy. If one does not accept God's self-disclosure of his Trinitarian nature, that his unity and diversity have equal ultimacy, if you reject that, then you're going to have to answer the question, what is the nature of reality or the universe? Is its ultimacy in its oneness or in its manyness? Is its ultimacy in its unity or diversity? And whichever one you choose, how do you derive intelligibility of that, from that? You won't be able to. So the God's unity and diversity are coherent. We may not be able to comprehend it exhaustively because we be God, but the non-acceptance of God's unity and diversity and being reflected in creation will result catastrophically in metaphysical incoherence about the universe.
Gotcha. Next up.
No, it won't.
The end.
No,
Thank
it
you
won't.
so much, everybody, for being here. It's been a pleasure. I was mentioning earlier when
Nope.
It won't. Like, it's just, there's a problem in philosophy called the many and the one problem. And that is, well, if you're going to look for foundations of things, we call humans one thing, but it's got many parts to it, kind of thing. So how do you sort of describe things as one if they're made up of many things? And it's just sort of, it seems to be a labeling problem rather than a sort of philosophical exclusivity, like, oh, this can't be possible kind of thing. Yeah, we sort of assign universals to things, i.e. Ember is one thing and I am one thing, but we know that we're actually made up of a whole bunch of stuff. Nothing's incoherent about that. It's just the way we're labeling it. It's the way that we're, like I said, I'm a nominalist, so I think these universal categories are in fact labels. They're descriptions that describe reality, but it doesn't make them real. So, but I mean, Darth's got a bigger problem, and that is sort of the violation of logic. So if something is one and three things, basically, one and three entities is what he's saying, and that the oneness and manyness has equal ultimacy. Well, if something is ultimate, the other things can't be. So you can't have something and something having equal ultimacy, because whichever one it is doesn't have ultimacy over the other, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
it can't
the
be
whole
ultimate.
argument about why it has to be one God instead of polytheism, because there must be one ultimate. If you undermine that with this polytheistic but also monotheistic nonsense, then you open the door to whole pantheons again.
Right.
Maybe collectively all the gods have the characteristic of godness and therefore are sharing in the Godhead, so you can have as many gods as you want. You can have Hinduism. You can have 3 million gods, but they're all collectively godness.
Brahman,
and therefore you have an ultimate one. It's exactly the same.
But the whole point is, like, if you have, is it one thing or is it three things? Because one is not three, right? You can't have one thing that is also three things. It's basically the law of non-contradiction. So if something is one and one is not three, then three cannot be one. Three can be part of one thing. That's completely fine, but that's not what they're claiming.
It's messy and silly.
It's incoherent is what it is.
Mm-hmm. All right. Random unrelated note. I did finally find the ad I made for transpositions. It's a little outdated. I have to make a new one. I have to update so many things, and I have no freaking time. But I added it as the outro for this video, so if you stick around to the end, and we are almost done, that will play instead of my normal lighted up music. So you get to watch it, and then I'll actually have it. So in future videos, I can just play it whenever the fuck I want. But that'll be there if you want to see. I'm trying to get people to watch until we're finished here. It's a trick that some people do. It's a dirty trick, but you know, it'll be there. So yay.
When Duncan was on a break for just a second, I was mentioning that you notice maybe the mods are a little bit more aggressive, but it can be aggressive in a good way. I hate people sometimes think this is like a bad thing inherently. What I want to ask is, if you guys, what we're trying to do is we still want to keep this very laissez-faire attitude with the live chat in terms of only bringing the hammer down on hate speech. However, we do still want people to enjoy their time in the chat, because you can call people things that aren't hate speech that will make them not enjoy their time in the chat. That makes sense, right? So if you can meet us both ways, or if we can kind of meet halfway, where if you can not be, 99% of you are awesome, you're always just pleasant, you're dialoguing and it's not abusive, but maybe like 1% once in a while. And it's kind of like it fluctuates. So like sometimes it's, Bob is one of the 1%, the dreaded 1%.
Damn it, Bob.
And sometimes it's Sally. And sometimes, so if you guys want to just help us
Damn it,
out
Sally.
by being friendly, like toward the speakers, especially because it's like, they're so, they're giving their time, they're just like hopping in the hot seat for us. And so, but also other people in the chat, of course. So we appreciate it if you can be as welcoming as possible. We've got a lot of super chats that just came in the last like 8 seconds. So thanks.
I'm tired.
Yeah, we've got to let the speakers go. So let's see. Forgive me. I hope people saw that I said that we got to close the Q&A intake. So we want to let
You can close the Q&A intake? Oh, well, I suppose he's doing like an actual Q&A and not just super chats. Yeah, Windmill, that's a big part of why I don't really go over there anymore, because they don't do that anymore. That's not really a policy anymore. And that's
their policy
a
is
problem.
don't insult the speakers, essentially. That's about
even then it's kind of ishy, but but yeah, that and other things that have happened, but that's a big part of it.
That's fair.
Shannon go, and then if any of these are for Darth, we can read them to him, but he may also have to go because it's super late for him. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. Am I supposed
I
to?
can say personal questions if you want.
I do. I'm really sorry. It's 20 to 1 and I've been up since 5 a.m. because I was coaching soccer this morning for the community. So I'm really sorry. Thank you for having a conversation with me. I know it was contentious and I know you don't particularly like me very much after it, but it was fascinating. So I appreciate it. And perhaps we can talk.
I don't dislike you personally. I dislike your antics on the show here today. I think you were rude and invasive and sleazy.
Sleazy.
Sleazy, yeah.
What?
Well, it's because
it's the sultry eyes, isn't it?
Well, I think it is the problems he has that because like he's really trying to be misogynistic and go, she's just a woman using her, virtues to upset me, kind of, his bad performance can't be his fault, right? And you'll see this in a lot of these kind of people who exhibit sort of, I don't know if they're narcissists, they couldn't make that designation, I'm not a psychologist, but they have a lot of narcissistic tendencies. It couldn't be them failing so miserably, so it has to be something they're doing. Oh, she's being sleazy, she's being manipulative, she's being using her feminine wiles. Oh, tilting, you just got there before me, I was just about to say that. Yeah, you're right, Luke. Yeah, very much what Trump does, like, oh, she's just a, like, she only got to where she was because of, her feminine charms or whatever. It's just misogyny straight out. That's all it is. It's just basically saying, hey, she lost because she's using these feminine things that I don't like. And it's like, when was she sleazy in the slightest? And I mean, Darth, after this, he went on about her duck lips pouting kind of thing. And no, I'm not even joking. He went on about it and on about it. And he was obsessed with her afterwards. And I think it is partly because he could never admit that somebody, that a woman got, made him look like an idiot. It has to be some manipulative thing that she did.
Well, in fairness, she didn't really have to make him look like an idiot.
No,
he kind of
no.
just does that on his own.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the more that his insecurity plays up, the more he's got to try and convince everybody that it wasn't him, and the more like an idiot he looks. This is the thing that sort of people find funny about him. It's sort of him, no matter how bloated and arrogant it is, it's obvious to everybody just how insecure the man is.
Yeah. So, his bloviating and whatnot notwithstanding, that's the end. There's another 30 seconds on the video, and it's almost all of it is James thanking everybody and saying tune in next week for whatever the hell is coming next and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So, are you convinced? Are you a Christian now?
No, I'm not even a deist. And it's what's interesting is that they never really got to anything of substance. Like, there was nothing of substance. And Shannon Q was happy to go down those routes of getting to things of substance. But, Darth had a script and he runs it. And all of these guys, Jim Bob and stuff, they all just have a script. It's their script. They've stuck to it. They don't like simple, complex answers because it doesn't lead them down this flowchart they've got. They're really, it's just so bad.
And really obvious. It's just, goodness.
Yeah.
I'm randomly doing another poll to see if people are convinced.
Yeah.
That's what you should do with a debate, is like find out if people were persuaded. You should do it at the start to see how they feel going in, so you can not only determine if they're persuaded, but how much the audience moved. But we're just kind of, hell, this is years after the fact, so it's pretty informal, But it always strikes me as like a fun thing when we're doing like the autopsy of the autopsy, is like, how convincing were the arguments? Were we convinced? Honestly, I think personality-wise, because they didn't really get into much substance, and you don't with presupp. It was just on personality. Shannon was charming, loquacious, and when she gets excited about a discovery about the way Darth's brain works, that tickles the science brain. It's like, ooh, this is fascinating. Let's study this. Let's learn shit, For me, the most engaging part. But,
Yeah, and I think it is that sort of, it is kind of like, if there was one person to give to, psychologists to study, Darth Dawkins would probably be it. He is so infamous in the world for being such a mess of bloated, egotistical, manipulative, conceited nonsense. Like,
Tell
he's
us how
probably
you really feel.
No, he is probably the most famous person for just being an absolute train wreck of a human being. Which is ironic, since he's going, oh, you acted like a train wreck. I've never seen something with that. Like, and this isn't atheism, right? He's been in conversations with other Christians, and it's gone exactly the same way, right? Other Christians that believe the same thing he does, and it breaks down, and he's been thrown off the stage. People have said, hey, we're Christians, but don't come back, kind of thing. When everybody is saying this, the common denominator is not them. It's him. Like, it 100% is him. But his sort of ego says, no, it can't be me. It has to be everybody else, everybody else. And so it's
They're
sort
all
of
sinners.
this. Right. And they all know God. They're just denying it, or I'm the right one. It's just, yeah, it's just horrible performance, horrible person. Everybody that talks to him never has a intellectual conversation. It's all him trying to win by using these scripts. And, that's, but it's sort of, it's funny that he's gone from, being on, I mean, the whole history of Darth Dawkins is just incredible. Like, he's been on Discord, keeps getting thrown off servers because he's just awful to people. Had sycophants turned on them. Just all in all, just a horrible series. Went to Clubhouse, didn't like it there because he couldn't control the mute. So I think he's back on Discord, holding a room where he mutes people. It's it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
He gets something out of it, and people keep engaging with him, usually to farm content. But
yeah,
it's c'est la vie.
Well, I think my engagements with Darth Dawkins are still the highest viewed videos on my channel, and that's sort of the frustrating thing. You don't really want to give these people air, but at the same time, people want to see you slap down these people. And I get that. I totally understand it. It's just, do I really want to give them air is a question. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky, especially with somebody who's irrelevant by his own doing, like Darth. But, people can make up their own minds about that sort of thing as well. Yeah, okay, so I like how Jason says, I imagine that anyone with a 3-digit IQ could see through his BS with ease. It's a, yeah, 3-digit, weirdly, being in the US right now feels high, but then I have to remind myself that, like, definitionally 100 is the average.
Yes, yeah.
So, like, but I mean, maybe it's a planetary average, because, like, there's days when I'm so off my game, I feel like I have a 101 IQ, and that puts me well into the above average category here. Holy shit. It's bad. But, I do digress. Before we go, what have you got coming up, Sir Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I do aimbot. That's the next thing to really be coming up. That is going to be Tuesday night Eastern time, Wednesday morning my time. And then on Fridays, or Thursday night Eastern time, I have Fundamentalist Fails, where I look at fundamentalist stuff. And I may have some debates coming up. Hopefully they won't fall through, because a couple have. It's just getting time to do them is hard. But I hopefully will be debating over at Modern Day Debate. I'm trying to set something up on Raging Tomato, mostly with those Thinking Institute, the presupp guys, because I actually like engaging with presupp because it's fun. And
You're a strange person.
I know. Well, it's not like I like presupp, but I like the answers that I have to presupp. I like, sort of breaking it down into foundations, basically. I like the metaphysics of it, because I feel like presupp always cannot, like, it just is non-justified. I don't even try. That's what amazes me. They don't even try to couch their assertions in some kind of, sort of, certainty matrix or some kind of epistemology. They're just like, yeah, it exists and that's it. I mean, where do you go from there? It's hilarious.
Yeah, I could see how spiking their wheel would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, as for me, I think I ran through this not that long ago, but Transpositions Weekly on Thursdays. Some Saturdays I'm over on Skeptic Haven. I think the next show over there is the weekend after this next one. So Oxt weekend, if you're familiar with that word, for 30 and 60 with Cynthia. And, of course, Mark's channel next Saturday for a brand new fresh debate.
Yeah. Which I don't know what it is yet. I won't do another Darth Dawkins. If we do that, it'll be sometime in the future. I think we all need a break from that level of obnoxiousness, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, like we like to, even when we do classic debates, we like to keep things fresh.
Well, I did this one more for Shannon Q than Dawkins. I just think
that's
Shannon Q's handling of it was just amazing. That's just amazing, you know, absolutely amazing. And the fact that she like he was obsessed with her, like just did not stop talking about it. Just like, it's sad. It's really sad. All she did was not fall for his nonsense, and he has like this massive problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. It just can't be. Oh my goodness. Oh, and the bonus stream, which is tentatively, again, my
There you
schedule
go.
may change because work is weird, but tentatively scheduled for Monday. So make sure you click notify for that, or ring the bell here. You know, all the things. And as always, thank you all so much for joining in the live chat. Again, seeing you all, interacting with you all is not only the reason I do this, but one of the reasons I can do this, because I'm so tired, and being with you folks gives me the energy I need to live. So I appreciate y'all coming by. And as always, remember, you don't have to presuppose you know everything about everything and be a jerk about it, because you are better than religion. Good night. With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to The Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. Here, we strive to be the beacon of authenticity, providing a platform that amplifies the voices and experiences of the transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today. The link is in the description.